The spiders spin their web of intrigue.
That's
And I'm
weird.
like, since when was he smart enough to ever say a sentence like that?
I was gonna say that's weirdly like poetic for him.
Right? Usually his lines are, "You will burn."
Usually
Not-
usually his lines are
And for the royalty.
That's Inferno dialogue.
Too much energon.
Greetings, Maximals, and welcome back to Too Much Energon, the weekly podcast where we review every episode of Beast Wars ever in order, starting from the beginning. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And this week on Too Much Energon, we have a leader class-sized episode because we are reviewing the final 3 episodes of the first season of Beast Wars. Episodes 24, 25, and 26. Before the Storm and Other Voices Part 1 and 2. The reason why we're doing all 3 of these episodes is because they are, for all intents and purposes, a 3-parter. And based on some research that I did recently, the only reason they aren't officially considered a 3-parter is due to production scheduling when the show was being made. So, there you go. It's basically, as Cal put it when we were off air, it's basically Other Voices Part 0, 1, and 2.
Yeah. Like the way before the storm ends, even like directly ties right in with the next one.
Yeah, and Other Voices.
And they usually don't say next time on Beast, or do they? And I'm just crazy.
They did for the Trigger Part 1, but I don't think they have for another episode, any other episodes.
Yeah, but they do for this, which makes me feel like it was supposed to be connected.
Yeah. Well, and Other Voices Part 1 even begins with a last time on Beast Wars.
Yeah, that's
recap,
what made me think of that. Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, Christopher is right. Yeah, there was like a more than a month in between. So they just renamed it Before the Storm or something like that.
Yeah, Before the Storm originally aired on February 21st, 1997. Other Voices Part 1 originally aired on March 31st, 1997. And Part 2 aired on April 1st, 1997.
97 was a hype year for Beast Wars. Because
someone got April fooled on in Part 2, which we'll get to.
Yes.
All right.
Wow. Yeah. So the episode Before the Storm starts with some jungle cat prowling. Could probably guess who it is.
Yeah, it's
Tigerbot.
Yeah, it's Tigatron. He sees some like
straight up a glowing mountain. It's just pulsating.
Oh yeah, it is too. That's funny. I thought it had like energon sticking out of it, but no.
The whole thing is pulsing with energy, and he kind of growls and goes and explores, and we get to see a Megatron throne in the dark side.
Yep.
I thought he sat on that chair that extended from the ceiling. Have we ever seen his throne?
No. Maybe this is his bedroom. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting.
Is.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, this is his personal chambers. Right. Eerie that like his hand T-Rex head like can look around while Megatron's sleeping.
Yeah, I was
two separate entities.
I was gonna bring that up because that is not something we've ever seen before.
He's like kind of gestured to it as if he was like talking to it, but that's kind of like how somebody will talk to themselves. But maybe that's not the case.
Yeah, this thing like kind of feels like it has a mind of its own.
A very low level like subconscious or sentience.
Yeah.
Maybe. He does some weird shit with his hand later on, which lends to that theory. I like that he's got a poster in the background of himself.
Yeah. Oh.
And his alarm, well, it's not an alarm, it's a computer. None of the Star Trek shit, just like a big old fucking like speaker falls from the ceiling and blares right in his face.
Yeah, and it even kind of pulsates when it's talking in a
cartoonic. Yeah. And it tells him that there's some sort of alert going on.
Yeah, unknown energy signature detected at grid whatever.
Yeah, I like how real this feels. Do you know what I mean? He stretches, he kind of yawns, and he's like, okay, show me the report. Right? It feels like just another day on planet Energon.
Oh, what are we getting up to this morning?
Yes. Let's see what shenanigans I can get up to. Wow, that's fucking weird. So the computer, I'm just going to point this out before we move to the next screen. The computer straight up shows him a giant mountain, as if they have cameras out there, a giant mountain that's glowing, right?
Yeah.
And Megatron goes, Maximals? And I'm like, no, mountain. How did he possibly think it?
Maximal or mountain?
Oh, it seems that the new Maximal is the size of a mountain. Yes.
That's its beast mode.
That's pretty fucking savage beast mode.
It's like a Titan class transformer.
Oh, I just paused it here, and he's got schematics of all the alien bullshit they've encountered.
Yeah, the probe from all the way back in Chain of Command, and the obelisk from the Flying Island in the Trigger Part 1 and 2.
Oh, and one of the symbols, the warning symbols left.
Yeah,
that weird yeah, huh.
Also, I'd like to point out that in this scene, Megatron has no shoulder pads.
Huh?
He's usually got purple shoulder pads.
Oh, what's going on there?
But he doesn't in this scene. He straight up just has a joint.
Good catch. Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, it was something I even noticed when I watched this as a kid.
So
he thought it was the strangest thing.
Took him off to go to sleep. Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah.
What? He doesn't. Yeah, he's bare. Huh. Maybe he's got parts he puts on in the morning.
Yeah, it's just interesting. It's something we've never seen before. So back at Pulsating Mountain, the camera pans into the top and some snow falls, and we see, speaking of obelisks, we see this stone tablet floating on a little miniature island in this little pool that's sitting in the middle of the mountain.
There's really no better way to describe it than how Christopher just did.
Yeah. And it's weird.
There's something pulsating or kind of blowing up every 5 seconds. So it's cool. The dynamic camera, yeah, it shows a whirlpool or a lake inside of the volcano.
Yeah.
With the floating island spinning.
Yeah. And on this big stone tablet is...
This blew my mind.
A golden disc.
Fucking blew my mind. I was like, hold up.
There's another golden disc.
And the smartest and most capable of we realize what that pulsating sound is. It's not natural. Inferno is shooting his way through the ground.
Oh, I thought he was digging.
Well, there were weird explosion sounds.
Oh.
But when he comes out of the ground, he says, "By the great smelter."
Yeah.
The royalty was correct. This great smelter? Is there some sort of who made Fenris's... Oh, sorry. Who made Fenris's chains again?
Oh,
in the Norse mythology, who was the great smith that forged his chains to hold the to hold Fenris until like
Ragnarok? Well, there were the brothers, Atri and Brock. They're the ones who made like Mjolnir and like
maybe
Odin's staff and Tyr's sword. I can't remember their names.
Or maybe it was the elves that made Fenris's.
Well, there was also another great smelter, and I can't remember what his name is, but there was a version of him that was in Avengers. What was it?
Oh,
yeah, he was made by Peter Dinklage. Yeah, there's that guy too.
Who's the giant?
Yeah, whose name I can't remember, but
yeah, but apparently Inferno prays to that pantheon because here he is.
Yeah, here he is.
This is a good example of when all you have is a hammer. I'm amazed he got out of this and that there weren't like defense protocols in this mountain. Because he flies over and tries to rip the golden like tablet off, and he screams and it doesn't work, and he falls down and Energon.
They start shorting out.
Yeah. And so he just screams and like tries harder.
Yeah, he's like I will not fail. And he grabs both sides of the golden disc and like is like and then like finally like brute forces
puts a little elbow grease into it.
Yeah, and then brute forces it, and it works, and he pulls it off, and then he flies upward, laughing like a fucking maniac,
screaming on fire. Yeah,
as per usual.
And that's it. He was successful in this crazy solo mission because the next scene is Inferno inside of Megatron's personal chambers.
Yeah.
And the gold disc is suspended in like a beam of yellow light.
Yeah.
And he's like praising Inferno, and he's like, "Oh, great job. It's what I've long expected."
And Inferno, I think I alluded to this.
You alluded to it, but it's nice to see it.
Yeah, Inferno's like, "Yes, my queen," and he takes a bow and like turns around and waddles away. And Megatron's like, "I do wish he'd stop calling me that."
This face too.
And so Optimus, we cut to Optimus doing his Superman thing.
This is so weird.
And he's like, he brings up like a radar thing on his forearm and is like, "I don't understand. There's no, basically there's no sign of the alien energy reading that Tigatron had reported."
Mm-hmm.
But then he sees like a thing like pop up on his radar approaching him. So he dodges out of the way and it zips past him. And then at the end of this, he's flying through this like trench, basically.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, this like ball that had zipped past him like opens up and is like a hollow projector.
Head is in there.
Yeah. It's like a hollow projector of Megatron's head.
But like a physical probe that Megatron like launched out of the ground.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's so that bizarre. You'd think he'd just radio him. But I guess that's not always. Well, he does talk to him live. What the heck? It's cool. It's cyberpunk.
But this is more dramatic, I think.
It's more dramatic, and there's so much cyberpunk shit that happens in these 3 episodes. I love it. I'll point it out as we go. Not like cyberpunk the game, but like cyberpunk the genre, the feel. Like Tigatron's soon to come like freaking Lawnmower Man hacking.
Yeah, when I was watching that earlier, I was like, man, this is like some like hackers or like Johnny Mnemonic.
Hackers, yeah. Yeah, Lawnmower Man, Johnny Mnemonic.
90s hacking, basically. 90s computer shit.
I love it.
90s pseudo technology.
Yeah, where like the net is and passwords are like physical things in a VR scape. But yeah, the hologram of Megatron's head.
Yeah, and I like Optimus's line here. He's like, "Well, Megatron, I'd say it was good to see you, but my truth circuits would overload.
My bad joke, like dad joke, like circuits did overload hearing him say that. I was like, oh, and worst joke of the show goes to.
I thought it was
very
funny.
Optimus joke. Yeah.
I also like Megatron's response. He's like, this is no time for pleasantries, Maximal. No.
The dialogue, by the way, for these 3 episodes is phenomenal. Like a different show, basically. Like, holy shit. Like, I'm so impressed with these episodes.
Well, this episode was written by Bob Forward, who also wrote The Low Road, which was the Energon Fart episode, which was surprisingly funny and clever.
One of the better episodes, yeah.
Yeah, it might be on my top 10 list. He also wrote The Trigger, Part 1 and 2.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
He wrote Fallen Comrades, the episode that introduced Megatron, and he wrote Beast Wars Part 1 and 2.
So this is the guy.
He's one of the guys, yeah.
Yeah, this is the guy that writes the good ones.
Yeah, so he wrote this episode, and Other Voices Part 1 and 2 were co-written by him and Larry Detilio?
Detilio, yeah.
Detilio, yeah.
Yeah, we here in Canada speak American, dang it.
And they're the 2 creators of the show and the showrunners, so it makes sense that
and they did good, man. Holy shit, did they end this on a bang.
So Megatron is basically just like we need to talk, but in person, neutral territory, both of us alone, and Optimus is like pfft. And Megatron's like, I want to discuss a truce. Yes. And he gives this like really like insincere smirk.
Oh my god, I had to pause and rewind the first time I watched that. But his fucking like smirk, I'm like, fuck off, Optimus. Don't listen to him. That fucking smirk. And they meet like a fucking kung fu movie, like on an isolated mountaintop above the cloud line.
So how did Megatron get up here?
I was just going to say, Optimus, whatever, he can fucking fly, but like, how the fuck did Megatron get there? That seems incredibly difficult for him. And a flyer can't pick him up.
No, he's too big.
Way too big.
I mean, maybe in we've seen Inferno be pretty fucking strong, so maybe him.
Well, he's got a gigantic, like his whole like ant butt is his jets. So maybe, yeah, why not?
Sure. So Megatron is chilling up on this mountaintop, like
waiting for Optimus.
No idea how he got there.
Yeah, Optimus is like, and I've never heard him. I swear, I've never heard him swear or Transformer swear. He's like, "What's this slag about a truce?"
Yeah, that's usually Rhinox is usually the one saying slag. Predacons talk like, truce. It just means they need time to reload their weapons, which I think is my favorite line.
And he put his hands on his hips. Yeah,
yeah, it's one of my favorite lines in the show, I think.
He's not wrong. Given their history.
Well, given their history on this planet, though, but like on Cybertron, they had apparently been at peace for like 3 centuries.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Indeed. But basically
maybe Optimus is just a cyber. Maybe he's a racist. Like he's racist against Predacons.
How dare you? He is pure. Well, that'll bring up a question I'm gonna save for part 2 of Other Voices. Because something Megatron says about you Optimuses are so predictable.
Mm.
And I'm like, who Optimus is? Like more than one? So I've
more than meets the eye.
Yeah, so I'll bring that up at a different time, but I had thought, you don't need to comment on it. I had thought that there was just one Optimus Prime, and on this, it's Optimus Primal because it's Beast Wars. But we'll get to that, I guess.
I think it's just a
It's just a name.
It's just a name. Yeah.
But so it is Optimus Prime.
Well, the Prime in Optima in G1, the Prime means
Allspark, right?
Or you're a Prime when you have been chosen by the Matrix of Leadership to be the leader of the Autobots.
That's it, right.
So like at the end of Transformers the movie, like Hot Rod became Rodimus Prime.
Prime, yeah. That's all that meant. So when it was Optimus Primal, I thought it was just a play because they all have to have kind of like animalish names.
Unless you're Megatron.
Then you're just fucking Megatron in every single iteration. Forever.
Because he don't give a fuck.
No. I'm a T-Rex. I'll be Megatron. I'm a gun. I'm also Megatron. And now I'm a giant cannon. But you can call me Galvatron.
Oh, funny how that works. I'm a pterodactyl. Call me Starscream. Oh wait, that's never mind. Call me Pterosaur. I'm Waspinator. Call me Starscream.
Yeah, good point. Sick. Why didn't he just possess when the Starscream episode when Waspinator was possessed? Why didn't he just possess Pterosaur? It's the same voice actor.
Probably for that reason. Because if you like, I mentioned it in that episode, but like Pterosaur barely spoke in that episode, and I think it was because they didn't want.
They sound too similar.
They sound too similar, and they didn't want it to be that obvious. And when Pterosaur did speak, like he really lowered his voice, like much more than usual.
Oh yeah, he was juicing again.
Yeah, he was back. He was back on the E.
But to jump back onto the island showdown, basically Megatron doesn't give Optimus like a choice in the matter. He says, I have other things to attend to that are more important. I don't want to have to deal with the Maximals. There's a truce, so take it or leave it. And then he like just turns his back on Optimus and walks away.
And Optimus is like, do you take me for a fool? And Megatron's like, no, I take you for a Maximo.
That's a good line.
Which I'm like, ooh, burn.
But he's got a good point, as in the next scene when we're in the Axelon, and we cut mid-convo right after Optimus presumably told the others about the truce meeting. Rat Trap and Dinobot are, of course, immediately complaining about it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Rhinox is like, do you think it has something to do with that alien energy signature we picked up? And it's like, well, yeah, no shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty fucking off. It's like, it's way too big of a coincidence.
Even Optimus is like, yeah, it has to. Yeah. Megatron knows something that we don't.
And, so Cheetor is like, oh, we better find out what Megatron's hiding. And Rat Trap's like, oh, you mean I have to infiltrate that Pred base again?
Yeah.
And Rhinox is like, well, that might be a truce violation. And
Cheetor points out, much incorrectly, I would like to point out.
I have so much to say about that.
Okay. So, what
Cheetor
is the one that says it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Cheetor is like, oh, not if he's unarmed.
And I'm like, that's odd. what a truce is.
That's not what a truce is. This episode, or these next couple episodes, like, they take the whole ceasefire, the term ceasefire, to its absolute most literal point.
Well, not only that, remember a truce involves a ceasefire, but a ceasefire is not necessarily a truce.
Yes.
Right? So they use that interchangeably in part 1, Other Voices part 1, and I'm like, hold up. I think it's Rat Trap is the first one to coin the term ceasefire instead of truce, and then it's immediately followed up by, oh, well, if it's not using guns, then I can't fire. And I'm like, you just changed what it was.
Yeah.
A truce is different. Like, you don't call a truce and then, like, hey, as long as we don't shoot our guns, it's fine. So there's some...
By all means, let's engage in espionage.
Right? Yeah, that the rules of conflict... Anyways, we've got a lot to say, but basically, like, oh, if he's unarmed, then it's not breaking the truce.
And it's like, you're still illegally sneaking into their base for the purposes of espionage. Like, that goes against a truce.
Yeah,
that in and of itself, like, breaks a truce.
It's a rough agreement between, like, forces or opponents or two sides to stop fighting or arguing or whatever for a certain time.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could say that just being on the other side's property in their territory is breaking the truce.
Yeah.
Which I would argue is.
Yes, absolutely.
But that term loses so much meaning as they slowly, like, bend what they change. And anyways, we'll get into it.
Yeah. We'll talk about it as it comes.
But Cheetor's like, oh, it doesn't count if he's unarmed. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. So we cut back to the Axelon, and Tarantulas is being tarantulas.
He's hacking.
Yeah, he's doing
bullshit.
Doing some hacks.
Mission Impossible stuff.
Yeah.
It's got like a voice modulator.
Yeah, to open, and he says to open transwarp core or containment unit or whatever.
Something.
Code word Megatron. So he's using a voice modulator to sound like Megatron, and it works.
And he steals a, what are they called again?
Was it a transwarp?
Transwarp
core.
There we go.
Transwarp cell, right?
Cell, yes, because they're like batteries, right?
Yeah.
Powerful, energy fueled, highly like volatile energy sources. Sci-fi stuff.
And apparently this, speaking of power, this one is only at 75% power, which Tarantulas is like, it'll have to do. And I'm like, that's still like most of a charge, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't pick up my phone and go 75%, better not leave the house.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, there were like 6 like cores there. 6 cells. Like,
yeah, he just went with the first. Yeah, he just went with the first one.
Like, if 75% is a problem, pick up one of the other 5.
Yeah.
And it's Waspinator because, I guess everybody can sneak up on you on this ship.
Well, I mean, bravo to Waspinator. He hasn't had much luck doing that throughout the past, 23 episodes.
Yeah, it doesn't have any luck here either.
No, but at least he was able to sneak up on him.
Yeah. He confronts... He's able to sneak up very infrequently, and then now that he actually has... You'd think they would learn, and they would shoot first and ask questions later.
You'd think.
But Waspinator doesn't do that. Nobody does it on the show. And he's like, no, Waspinator asks questions, see? I'm the one with the gun, see? Now start talking. And Tarantulas pulls the gold, spider eye that's on his forehead above his optic visor and, tosses it at Waspinator, and I guess like, what does it do? Is it just like a smoke bomb and makes it hard to see through?
It's a smoke bomb, yeah.
It's like the shittiest smoke bomb ever.
Well, and a smoke bomb is a stupid thing to use against another creature that we've seen have access to things like night vision, magnovision, etc., thermal vision. Yeah, like
literally.
like what's a smoke bomb gonna do against someone like that?
Also, like the amount of smoke it produces is like basically nothing. And then he just casually walks behind Waspinator and kicks him into this vault and goes, "Later, alligator," and like tosses a comical like bundle of dynamite in.
Something you would see like Yosemite Sam with
just like literally like sticks of dynamite like connected to electrical wires.
Yeah.
Oh, so and not only is
Waspinator had asked, he was like, "Oh, why is Spiderbot taking Transwarp Cell? Answer me now!"
Right.
And during all of this, Tarantulas was like, "The answer is simple. I'm leaving."
Oh yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So he blew up that like vault. So presumably he also blew up the other transwarp cells.
Yeah. So he not only is he planning to GTFO, he's also like kind of screwed over his teammates.
I just noticed that watching it this time.
Yeah,
like stopping everyone else from doing the same.
Yeah, I that didn't actually occur to me until just now.
Uh-huh. And then Megatron talks to his hand, and his like T-Rex hand, like eyes look at him.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't like it.
It's creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
drawing eyes on your hand and a mouth, and like making a gesture to you. Except that like maybe his hand is a little bit alive. I don't know.
I don't want to know.
But Megatron says some stuff that makes it seem like this is all going according to plan.
Yeah, so Megatron watched all of this go down on like
some vid window.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, on like on basically a surveillance cam. He watched all of this go on, and he's all like, the inevitable treachery. Properly guided, it could serve me well."
And he pets his hand.
Yeah. And so he radios Black Arachnia, who is doing something with a toad.
She seems all surprised too when he radios her, as if there's a vid window or like a screen that popped up, right?
Right.
Because she turns around and looks at the camera, like very like scared, like she's like caught doing something she shouldn't be.
Yeah, like someone just like walked in on her, like in the middle of something.
Yeah, and there's like a poison dart frog like spinning in like an energy web.
Yeah, it's like an energy web that kind of looks like it's been like weaved to look like a basket.
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Megatron's like, "Hey, go follow your spider friend and check out his bullshit." And she's like, "Do I have to?" And he's like, "Yes, you do." And then he says, "Please."
"Would you check it out? Please." And then he's like, "Now, Optimus Primal, the next move is yours. Cheers."
And then when I started watching these 3 episodes, I was like, whatever his plan is, it's probably not as well written as the writers are like making it out to be, but actually it is. It actually all fits together so fucking well. Like,
yeah,
I'm very surprised. Shockingly, like really good. I'm impressed.
So
I just was gonna be like, oh, it's like Deus Ex bullshit, right? Like Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, I had planned this all along, but it actually does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I think
we'll see that as we go ahead.
Yeah, I'll talk about that when we actually get to that that event in Other Voices Part 2. But so we cut to Air Razor and Rat Trap, and Air Razor is flying around and she's carrying Rat Trap, and Rat Trap's complaining about flying as he always does. And
yeah,
the Predacon like auto defense system kicks in and starts shooting at them, and Air Razor drops Rat Trap and he transforms, and then she transforms. And she calls up Megatron and is all like, "Is this your idea of a truce, motherfucker?"
Yeah, your turrets are attacking me. And he's like, oh, my bad. Let me just turn those off for you. And he does.
Yeah, as
he's like, oh, I must have forgot.
Yeah, he's during this conversation, he has a toothbrush and he's brushing his T-Rex hand thing.
Like its teeth.
Yeah, he's brushing
presumably.
his teeth. And
yeah,
also,
he is.
Yeah. And also in this scene, he once again does not have shoulder pads.
No, he's lounging. It's a casual day for him. He's fucking brushing his dinosaur teeth.
Yeah.
It's casual Friday. There's a truce. I haven't done my laundry in a week. It's great.
I didn't even take a shower today. No.
Don't even care. But yeah, he's like, oh, pardon me. Let me shut them down immediately. Yeah, and he does. He just flicks the switch. They turn off. And all the guns turn sad and like fall down.
Oh, they totally do. That's a
they
good
retract back into their. They like fall downwards and then fold back up into the presumably little portable, like defense like fences. Like they look like these big metal like chunks.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, well, you have my apologies, but you're in Predacon airspace, lady.
In the interest of continued peace, get the fuck out. Yes.
Thank you.
And she's all like, yeah, all right. So she transforms and flies away, and he's like, oh, and Air Razor.
And she's like, yes, Dad?
Please take your boyfriend with you.
And it shows a camera, like a black and white, like camera, like kind of moving around and zooming in with like some Cybertronian language next to it. And I'm like, man, like Megatron is being that like supervillain that has like surveillance everywhere.
He's holding all the cards.
Right? But
so it seems.
It would make sense that there would at least be one camera near that turret outpost. So
yeah. Well, and as this show is established, like you don't even need a camera to look at to see surveillance footage on a monitor, because that's been a thing we've commented on in several episodes now.
Oh, where just like magically, like it'll just like enhance and zoom in on things when there's no cameras nearby whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like, how are we watching this exactly?
That's happened like 8 times. We're like, how are we seeing this on the screen?
Yeah. Are there cameras? No, there aren't cameras around. They're out in the middle of nowhere.
We try to make... See, here's the thing, listeners. We try to make excuses within the realm of plausibility. And then outside of that, we just give up and go, doesn't make sense. And move past it. But at least this time there was a camera.
Beast Wars does some Beast Wars bullshit.
Yeah. Sometimes there's one platform and sometimes there's 2. Sometimes it's broken and sometimes it's new.
Sometimes it's red and sometimes it's blue. Yes. So
Rat Trap likes cheese? Give it a chew? Like one of these episodes he even talks about cheese again.
Go shoot us a deer so we can eat some stew.
Yeah, why not? Rhinox would be the one to say that.
So
I talked with my partner today about like why Rat Trap even knows what cheese is.
Oh yeah.
Well, presumably,
right. Yeah, we brought that up a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, presumably they are familiar with other cultures, with biological life forms. That's why they still refer to themselves as robots. And they know that they eat. And when they're in their beast modes, they can eat too, right? So they know what food is. And Rat Trap probably, in the very least, has heard of cheese, right?
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that if they have other cultures like documented and stuff, right? That they know the stereotype that, like, mice and rats like cheese. Yeah, why not?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think more realistically is the writers just didn't even think of that when they were writing the dialogue.
No, we're absolutely overthinking that.
Like
Children's show, people.
99 well-written children's show all around, but like 99% chance like their writers just didn't even occur to them.
Can you imagine us like walking in and being like, well, we're trying to like discuss philosophy about the show, like how is it that he knows what cheese is? Does he have Earth records? Like, right, and all that stuff around. They just like stare at us blankly and they're like, dude, it's a kid show. Like rats like cheese. Oh,
Yeah.
that's it? Yeah, dude. And they just go back to work. And we're like, oh, well, fuck us.
Never meet your heroes, kids. Never meet your heroes.
As we just pretend we know what it's like talking to them.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, basically they're talking to Optimus, and he's like, well, how'd the mission go? We failed. We utterly failed. Yep. And he's like, oh, too bad. And then it's revealed when they look at a perfectly rendered 3D model of the dark side on the kitchen table. Did you notice that? It's not like a laser projection. It's like a physical, or it's a terrific laser projection, like a physical model of the dark side.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's so maybe it's like the laser thing that it shows, but it's like, what's it called when they like make solid things out of like light in sci-fi? Whatever. You kind of know what I'm talking about, right? In Mass Effect, not Mass Effect. Who cares?
I'm thinking of like replicators in Star Trek.
Yeah, and replicators, they atomize things to the best of its ability to recreate things, though, right?
Yeah.
Like the things they're making, they're essentially putting together atoms into molecule chains at such a degree that they can make whatever they want as long as they have the energy to do so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they made maybe that was a Cheetor project.
That was his final project for his practicum.
And whoa, I just hit a glitch in the Matrix here. So we zoom in on the dark side, and yeah, there's a glitch in the Matrix. And it's revealed the actual plan was for Tigatron to infiltrate the base.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just like a random hole.
There's often random holes in the dark side, as we found, and if they're not made by Optimus, they're there from the crash, right? If you look closely, as he jumps into the hole, he actually doesn't jump into the hole. He clips through the right side of the frame and doesn't hit the hole at all.
Oh, wow.
Do you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh no, I just paused it at a weird spot. No, he jumps through. It was just a mirage. I tricked myself. No, he got in.
Oh,
yeah, you're right though. Why don't they patch these holes?
Yeah, like get out the fucking welding tools, guys.
They can make turrets, right? They can make all these projects. They can make a whole goddamn fucking machine to turn a Maximal into a Predacon. But y'all motherfuckers can't like put some like sheet metal, like close up the holes that the Maximals keep coming through? Is this like the 5th time they've infiltrated the base?
Yeah, like dedicate your Saturday afternoon to that first.
Do you know how many cycles this took? At least 3. And we cut to not the dark side, presumably some subterranean tarantulas layer. And if I'm not mistaken, we saw the layer on the low road.
Yes.
But this time
we've seen his lair a few times. We also saw it in the web.
Right, but there's I feel like there's 2, right? Like there's this one.
This is the one from the low road. It definitely looks different than the one from the web.
Yeah, like they're in 2 different locations. One's blue, right, and it's like dark and wet, and the other one's kind of like gold and it's full of little tunnels almost.
Yeah, and the one in the web was like a lot more spacious.
And this one's like natural tunnels or something, whereas the other one was like a cavern or something. And I also get the impression, based on those 2 episodes, that the cave, the big cave that he has, is close to the dark side, the Predacon base. But this one is closer to the Maximal base. Just based on like how they moved around and how fast the Maximals found this. Like this is more in neutral territory in between them.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to space it out in my head. For when I make my Beast Wars tabletop RPG, and I have to draw the maps.
I really want to do
that. Play that.
I posted a Facebook status like about a week ago. Like, serious question, like who would actually be up for like doing a Beast Wars RPG? And like nobody reacted to it at all.
See, that's the thing about Facebook is it doesn't like it'll show you the same like posts from like 3 people.
Yeah.
And you might miss a ton of stuff. I didn't know you posted that. I'd be fucking down for that. That'd be rad.
Well, after like 2 days after like 2 days of getting no engagement whatsoever on the post, I was a little embarrassed and deleted it.
I know those feels. But now that I'm glad that you mentioned it. I would run that.
There is a Transformers role-playing system on cybertron.com.
Really?
Which my partner found for me, which I found kind of funny. She sent me the link to it. I found it kind of funny. I'm like, oh, it's cybertron.com. I go to that website all the time, like reading like toy news.
Yeah, and she found resources for a tabletop RPG. Yeah, I'd definitely be down for that.
Yeah, I'd probably also want to like do it as a podcast too.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Yeah, have a Beast Wars RPG podcast. Listeners, we're brainstorming like live on the air here.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that, let us know.
And you'll be at
Too Much Energon at outlook.com.
We'll interview you to see if you're right for our Beast Wars RPG.
Yeah.
But to get back to before the storm, we rejoined Tarantulas in one of his underground layers, but this time it shows a camera, much like the one that was near the turret field. So presumably Megatron is just watching him.
Right.
I want to know how Megatron has these cameras everywhere. Inferno set them up? Maybe?
Maybe they're
He's had a lot of time to put them up. Oh, I mean, install them at all.
Well, they've been on Planet Energon now for 24 weeks.
Fair. They've had a lot of time to sneak around and set cameras up.
That's like almost half a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the severed head of Waspinator comes into frame, and it was kicked there by Black Arachnia.
It even goes, oh!
And Tarantulas is all like, oh shit, and takes like literally a propane tank and like slides it over to block view of the transwarp cell. It's like literally a fucking propane tank
for like a barbecue. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that may have just been like a 3D model that they had like stored away in their software somewhere.
Something from Reboot. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It was just like it was just a random like model that they had in a folder somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, what can we use? Propane tank? Sure, why not?"
Propane tank. Dot. JPEG. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
For some reason, so Lady Arachnia is acting very like I don't know how to word the spy who loved me kind of thing, and she's trying to like get in his good books and act seductive, and apparently part of acting seductive is kicking Waspinator's head straight at Tarantulas, who catches it with his claws.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, looks like you're up to some shenanigans," and he's like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about," and he tosses Waspinator's head away. Poor Waspinator. And you know, I called them hot tubs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and yeah, I referred to it as the hot tub heal machine.
The hot tub heal machine is what you, yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
here we are in what, Megatron's personal chambers again?
Yeah.
He's in a hot tub.
His own personal jacuzzi. Cheers.
And he's watching the camera feed of Black Arachnia try to worm her way into Tarantulas' heart.
Sorry, I've just paused it to get a good look at actually this is a pretty good shot too. I might even make it the show art for the episode. But it's Megatron sitting in his hot tub heal machine. And
it's a good one. He leans back.
Yeah, he leans back, and there's like all this stuff. Like he straight up has a shelf in the background that has like a statue of the Predacon symbol, a bowling pin, and
a picture of some sort.
Something that looks like, honestly, it looks like G1 Megatron's gun.
Oh, his arm. Like his cannon with the
his cannon, that black cannon that's on G1 Megatron's right arm.
Good eye, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it.
It looks like the little scoped cannon thing. Yeah. It's the picture on the top. Picture frame? I can't quite.
I also can't make out what is beside the bowling pin, like to the left of it. It looks like kind of like a head.
A skull? Like a human skull?
There's something purple on it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, and the there's like a little hover thing to hold the golden disc.
And he's got a door in his room, in his jacuzzi here, that has spikes on it. It looks like something out of like Bowser's castle.
I was going. That's an apt description. Yeah.
Yeah, it's even red too. It's like one of the boss doors in Super Mario World.
Oh yeah, good point. And even but on this, it's kind of like it has like two big giant like pressurized like anti-blast like locks. Like it's locked from the inside, and this looks like this room has more security than the rest of the entire dark side.
For times when you need to unwind when shit is going down. Cheers.
Megatron voice code AT&T override.
Well, he says, yeah, ATT override.
I have some special programming of my own to add. Oh, I missed this before. Okay, this part.
Yeah, he was like computer access transwarp cell, ATT override.
That's
voice
important.
Code Megatron.
Okay.
That's very important, yeah. So he has hacked the transwarp cell.
Yeah, he says, I have some of my own programming to add, and then he throws his arms up and cackles. And you can hear his cackling like reverberate through the ship, and it just kind of shows like Tigatron, scooting about in the air ducts. But I feel like Rat Trap still would have been better for this. Fucking pterosaur, man.
Yeah, you knew exactly what I was laughing about.
Yeah, his existence is just humorous.
Yeah, so Tigatron is walking through the hall and he like goes to round a corner, but then you see Pterosaur in his pterodactyl form just like hopping along down at the
awkwardly hopping, just like with his wings, like doing that weird chicken hop thing that he does. It's very. It doesn't get old.
No.
And Tigatron whips back and he goes, black ship, bad place for this white cat. And I'm like, you're more toothpaste colored. you're white and green, my dude. Or bluish green? Aqua?
Hey,
what color is that?
He's minty.
He's minty. Yeah, he's minty fresh.
So we cut back to the Axelon, and Cheetor is sitting at the dinner table looking kind of bored, and he's
looking at like projections of the different alien like sites they found.
Yeah. And this is actually kind of a useless scene, honestly.
It is.
Because, yeah, Cheetor is basically just like, oh, Big Bot, do you think Tigatron will find out what the Preds are up to? And Big Bot is like, he has to. Megatron has found out some serious shit, and we have to know what it is.
And anyways, back to Tigatron.
And then we come back. It is such a useless scene.
It is, yeah. Basically sitting around while Tigatron puts his life on the line. And okay, this is what I mean by some like cyberpunk shit. Yeah. He reaches into somewhere in his belly and he pulls out like a tiger claw like computer USB dongle.
There you go.
It's like an energy like whip that comes out of his like core.
Yeah.
And he like plugs it, like Jeffrey tube kind of like maintenance. He pulls a panel off the wall and there's all these circuits and everything, and he like hard wires like hacks like right into the system. And then shit gets wild.
Yeah.
Like he puts the other end into his head.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like literally Johnny Mnemonic. And or Cyberpunk, if you've played any Cyberpunk game, and like holy shit, man. Like this lawnmower man scene where he like virtually like explores like the Predacon database by like flipping things and like going through codes, and he like flies around. It's indescribable. This is
we see
great shit.
Yeah, he's like, it's a point of view shot. It's from his point of view, and we see like floating VR hands, which from what I've seen is actually how like VR works nowadays. So
basically
Beast Wars predicting the future.
Yeah, and
it's like that technology absolutely did not exist at the time.
He grabs what almost seems like a dreidel or like a D8 in the top left of the screen. And presumably that is some sort of Predacon code cracking software he has, right? Because as he grabs that, he spins around the Predacon like symbol in front of him in VR space and puts in this password.
Yeah.
And he like zooms through like some cables and goes into like this huge area with tons of lasers and lights and like 3D like virtual space buildings everywhere, and he comes across a weird Rubik's Cube of Megatron's head. Right?
Yeah.
Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And he twists it around a bunch until it makes like it actually looks like like the correct depiction of Megatron's head. And it like flips up, and then Tigatron like
I'm in.
Yeah, virtually zooms into the bottom of it and goes through like what looks kind of like a Stargate tunnel, basically. Yeah. I'm thinking people who made these shows liked Stargate.
This is wild, yeah. And he brings up all of this data in Cybertronian until he eventually like hacks his way into this is a crazy hacking scene, man. He hacks his way into the data about them finding another gold disc.
Yeah, so we see a 3D rendering of the golden disc, and then we're out of VR land, and Tigatron's like, "Buy the Matrix."
I love
And
that.
the dramatic Beast Wars music starts playing.
Buy the Matrix, which doesn't come out for another 2 years. It's ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And then Pterosaur, I guess, did see him.
Well, the Autobot Matrix of leadership was
86.
86, so 10 years prior to this. Pterosaur sees this going down, and he says a line that I really like. He's like, well, looks like Curiosity just claimed another cat.
This has got some good lines in this episode. And he cocks his gun, and I'm like, so, like, are you allowed to shoot him? Because, like, Tigatron broke the truce? And we find out...
he addresses that. So we cut to Megatron talking about a storm of, like, insurmountable power approaching, and that
beyond imagination.
That power will be mine. Yes.
And he's just talking to Inferno.
I don't even know if he's talking to Inferno or if he's just monologuing to himself, and Inferno happens to be there.
That's a good fucking point.
So, he starts laughing, and then he laughs like so much that he starts coughing, and I really wonder if that
reminded me of you so much. I was like, this is what I mean by this episode feels real.
I legitimately wonder if that bit was something that actually happened in recording. That David Kaye was just like laughing so much, and then he just like started coughing during the recording session.
It must be.
They thought it was so funny that they just left it in the episode.
I love that. It's so real, and it humanizes them, just like Megatron waking up earlier, and he's like, "Yes, computer, on screen," right? Like this is pretty good. It's good writing.
Yeah,
but you're right. That does feel like the voice actor just ended that long laugh with like a cough, and they just kept it.
So yeah, and he's
basically power mad. He's like, to think that my goals were limited to that of mere energon.
And he finishes up his monologue, and an alarm goes off, and I like his reaction. He's like, all the power in the world will be mine. Yes. Alarm. Ah!
Ah! Such good. It's so well written. And all the power of the world shall be mine. And then the alarm goes boo, and he gets like, huh.
I don't know why I found that so funny, but
it's two moments back to back that really humanize Megatron.
Yeah. So Pterosaur puts a gun to Tigatron's head, and Tigatron's just like, "You can't shoot, we have a truce." And Pterosaur is like, "Oh, I remember, but you know my trigger finger, it just might forget."
That little bastard.
And Tigatron's like, "Well, permit me to jar its memory," and he transforms and like pounces Pterosaur and then fucks off, and Megatron comes running in and is all like, Get him! But no shooting. We do have a truce, remember?
But no shooting. And I'm like, but he's trespassing.
Yeah.
What different?
I mean,
okay.
The truce is technically already broken.
Yes.
By the sheer act of Tigatron trespassing on the base. He broke into their house.
Yeah, and stole information, and just come on, guys. But maybe the definition of what a truce is is loosey goosey. It's like the most generic form is an agreement between two opposing sides to stop fighting for a certain time.
Yeah. Well, and
So
like
if
I
does that
like I
only
mentioned
mean
earlier,
physical? Right? Like they're bending the rules.
yeah, like I mentioned earlier, they're taking the ceasefire aspect of a truce to its most
Yeah.
literal interpretation.
And then it gets worse.
It gets worse, even worse in the next scene. So Scorponok tries to intercept Tigatron and starts running toward him, and then Pterosaur comes up behind Tigatron, and they're both like running toward Tigatron, and you see exactly where this is gonna go.
Yes.
Because Tigatron
Exactly.
jumps out a hole the hole that he came in that happens to be
right there.
and predictably, Tigatron and Pterosaur run right into one another.
Yeah, Scorponok and
Oh yeah,
Pterosaur. Yeah.
Sorry, Scorponok and
But
Pterosaur.
I like how intent. Like Scorponok is running like the T-1000. Like he looks intimidating. Did you see Pterosaur? He's like running with his hands out.
Yeah, he was running with his
like a
arms out,
10-year-old, like
a
learning how to play
zombie.
football the first time in his life. Keep your hands up, Billy. Like it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Pterosaur, you throw like my great-grandmother. And she didn't have arms. But yeah, there's a flare shot up in the air by presumably Tigatron.
Yeah.
And the rest of the Maximals, I guess, get ready to cover his escape, because this information, if he got any, is like very important to the Maximals.
Yeah.
And Rat Trap calls Tigatron the Barbarian.
Yep.
I'm like, well,
yeah,
the Maximals have a giant steel like sheet.
Because reasons. Like, we see what they do with it, but it's like,
yeah, but that was extremely situational.
Yeah.
Imagine how embarrassed they'd feel hauling that thing out here, and that one thing they needed to happen doesn't fucking happen.
Right?
Yeah, okay, it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. But yeah, there's an action shot of all the Preds chasing Tigatron.
Yeah, and Optimus transforms and like super apes into the air. Dinobot's like, fuck yeah, battle! Woo! And he transforms and has his drill rapier and whirly tail out, and
Optimus is like, no weapons.
No weapons. And
the unique gotta Batman this. It's basically Batman rules.
And Dinobot's just like, oh, all right.
Okay.
So he goes back to beast mode for some reason. It's like, dude, you could have stayed in robot form.
You have arms when you're in robot form. This must have been easier in robot form, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so he goes back to beast mode and looks over and sees a boulder that just happens to be chilling out at the top of the hill.
Round. We know where that's going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we jump back into the air, and Air Razor and Optimus are there, and they're like, oh, how are we going to handle this? And I'm like, what? Inferno by himself? With no weapons? What is he going to do? Like, just scream at you? And literally, a few seconds later, as he goes to approach Air Razor, they somehow do some switcheroo, and Inferno screams at them, and Optimus, like, reaches behind him and rips some cords that connect the torso of Inferno to his, like, propeller tail.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what difference is shooting him and, like, physically, like, ripping parts of him out? That's breaking the truce, man.
Yeah.
Come on. That's not peaceful. That's ripping vital components needed for him to fly out of him.
Yep.
So I'd argue Optimus is actually the first one, or besides, no? Well, besides them trespassing.
Yeah.
Optimus is the first one to technically break the truce, but because he didn't shoot him falling like a kilometer up in the air is just fine.
So speaking
this
of
fucking
which,
pan.
So Tigatron is like running up a hill and he's being chased by Pterosaur.
Right on his heels.
And Tigatron like
jumps
leaps
over a trench.
Yeah, jumps over a trench, and here come Rhinox and Cheetor with that steel wall that they were carrying around.
The steel sheet.
Yeah, and Pterosaur's like eyes bug out, and he crashes beak
Cartoon
first
slams into it.
Right into it, and we see like the indentation of his beak like pushed through the steel sheet. And I'm like,
that's still attacking people? How is that different than like punching him or hitting?
Yeah,
they break the rules more and more as these episodes go. And I'm like, so none of you know what a truce is, I see, including Optimus. Okay.
Great military leader.
Oh yeah.
For the listeners, I actually really do like these episodes, like a lot. I think they're some of the best episodes in season 1.
The truce is kind of janky.
Yeah.
My partner said that too. She said, I like these, but like the worst part of them is this like hokey truce shenanigans.
Yeah, the truce subplot, it really should have been an all or nothing thing.
Either completely like maintain it, or
just don't even bother with it.
Just don't even bother with it. Yeah, because I'd actually even add that like these like comical moments don't. It just takes up airtime. It doesn't lend anything to the story.
No, it's just like in this case, like it's just an action sequence that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, even though a huge boulder. Now I'm just gonna skim over the next part. Dinobot, surprise, surprise, lays like a fake pit trap, and when the two spiders jump over it, the giant boulder like rolls down and squishes them. Now, if this played a part, like let's say this decommissioned Black Arachnia and Tarantulas for a while, I'd go, oh, okay, that's fair. But like they're just up and at it again. Like there's no repercussions to any of these fights right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
even Pterosaur gets out of his predicament merely by transforming.
Oh yeah, he transforms and he's fine. So like, glad you guys brought that like 8x5 like aluminum sheet.
and then Rat Trap is literally doing some fucking Matador shit.
Actually, he has a red cape.
Yeah, and he's doing the whole Toro thing to Pterosaur, who buys right into it. So he charges right at Rat Trap because reasons, and then Rat Trap pulls the cape away, and it's Rhinox's beast mode ass.
It's Rhinox's big fat rhino butt. His big fat donk. and Pterosaur slams into it.
And Rhinox just like sits on him and then like starts like rubbing his butt right into him.
And Dinobot turns
I swear he's like getting off on this or something.
That is not for us to
speculate or judge.
And Dinobot turns to Optimus and he's like, peaceful.
Very.
And Optimus
peaceful.
is like, yeah, very peaceful. And I'm like, no, it isn't.
No, it's not.
That's not how a truce works. Oh, this was the line, by the way. We cut to Scorponok, who apparently was not chasing after Tigatron. And he's right beside Megatron. And they're looking at a camera feed. And Scorponok's like,
darn, he got away.
Darn, he got away. It was close, though.
You're right. Okay, yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
And I'm like,
he got away. It was close though.
that's so wholesome to me. I don't know why, but I love that line and the fact that Scorponok is the one delivering it. Darn, he got away. Like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons trying to swear.
Yeah.
It was close though. Like trying to look on the bright side.
I kind of get Goofy vibes from it, honestly. Like it sounds like something
He
Goofy.
got away. It was close though.
It sounds like something Goofy would say.
Now, Max, it's better to have tried to catch the tiger rather than not doing the eye of the tiger at all. Yep. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And then Megatron's like, oh, he may have gotten away.
But we still got the golden disc.
Fuck you. It's too early in the episodes to start going crazy.
Yeah. We've still got 2 whole episodes left after this. Yeah. So we cut to all of the Maximals in beast form, like standing on top of a like.
It's the panel that moves over the bridge of the ship, so that Optimus can fly out. Yeah.
Right. So they're standing on that, and they're basically just like,
"What's the 411, Tigatron?"
Yeah. And he's all like, yeah, Megatron found another golden disc. And, you know, the aliens, the ones who have been, like, doing all this weird shit for the past, like, 23 episodes, they're coming!
Now!
And everyone's, like, gasping, and it's playing this, like, dun 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 music. They're on their way here, and I don't think they're very happy. And Optimus is like, looks off ominously. Well, that's just Prime. And that was before the storm, because there is now a storm going on.
So to TLDR that conversation, the reason the mountain was glowing was because it was acting like a natural beacon. And that's how they were able to find the gold disc, and they deciphered it. And it's like, presumably it was supposed to activate to signal its creators to return. And that's why Megatron and now the Maximals even know that someone's coming. It's not like, it's like a Mayan hieroglyphic and they wrote, 2012, the end of the world is going to happen. Yeah. They presumably that's what the beacon and the mountain glowing was all about in the first place. So shit is happening fast now, folks. Shit is going down.
Well, and the golden disc like has information on it that Megatron was able to extract.
Yes, but I'm not. Do we know that yet? Do they know that?
I actually don't know, so I will refrain from commenting further. But yeah, so Other Voices Part 1. We open in space, and a trans-warp portal opens, and this like glowing like oval ball of energy.
Another thing from space.
And at the Axelon, an alarm goes off, and the computer tells Rhinox that alien energy signature detected, and Rhinox is like, cross-reference it with Stonehenge, will you?
Yeah, basically.
And the computer is like, yep, they're the same thing.
Rhinox is like, shit.
And yeah, he's like, our friends have finly arrived.
Optimus with the dad jokes. He's like, just what we need, a visit from the landlord. Cue laugh track.
Yeah, cue laugh track.
And I'm like, Optimus, stop.
So yeah, he was like, what was it? Rat Trap and Air Razor, he said, were the closest. Yeah, Rat Trap and Air Razor. He's like, radio them, and I'll meet them there. And Rhinox is like, well, the Preds would have picked this shit up too, you know? And Optimus is like, well, we still have a truce, I hope. And then he super apes away. And now we're at Tarantulas' lair, and Tarantulas is also picking up on this shit. And he asks the computer to calculate when the next stasis pod would land on the planet.
Interesting, yeah, which means he's been able to, maybe he was the astronomer or the meteorologist of the group. Well, we know in the very least he's a scientist, right?
He's a mad scientist.
It's shown us a few episodes back that he was able to predict the gravitational decay of the stasis pods, which is how they found Inferno in the first place.
Well, you had mentioned that your partner said that it appeared like he figured out a way to essentially make that stasis pod, stasis pod land.
He did something, right?
And that's why so far
light flashed on the pod. Yeah.
And that's why, that's the only stasis pod in this entire show we've seen land smoothly.
And it was the one he manually ejected out of stable orbit.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. I remember that now. Yeah. He manually brought that down. So it's like, why can't he do that again? He definitely manually brought that one down when we rewatched it.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, he pressed a button on the computer and lights blinked and a whole bunch of stasis pods were lined up in the air, and this one maneuvered with little jets and came down.
Yeah. It broke formation and then came down and landed smoothly.
Yeah, smooth sailing until he fucked with it.
Yeah, ironically, I mentioned this on that episode, but ironically, the only stasis pod to actually have a smooth landing ends up being the most batshit insane protoform.
I think it's because he fucked with it. But I like our idea that actually that stasis pod just happened to have an absolutely bananas maximal inside. The weird janitor of on the ship.
Yeah.
What's an insect researcher? An insect scientist? A
zoologist?
Well, I know a zoologist is animals. Entomologist. Oh. That's it. Yeah. Maybe he's the entomologist and he really liked ants. I don't know. That's a stretch here. But basically, back to the other voices, Tarantulas is pissed because his computer tells him the stasis pod, the next one to fall to the planet won't happen for 30.6 megacycles.
That sounds like a couple of Saturday afternoons.
Yeah, at least 2 more Saturday afternoons.
Yeah. And there's too much shit going down.
There's too much shit, man.
Not enough time.
And he's like, I need a stasis pod to get off this stupid planet.
Yeah, I think he calls it a dirt ball.
Dirt ball, yeah. And we hear a voice who's like, and why would you want to do that, partner? And Black Arachnia's there, and she winks at him. He's like, I'm not your buddy, guy. Now go away.
And she's like, yeah, I'm here to help you. And he's just like, haha, why do I need your help, bitch? And she's like, well, I can get past the Maximal's defense system. And he's like, but the Axelon is broken. So, what are you getting at? And she's like, it won't
fly again.
Yeah. And she's like, well, true. Basically is like, well, true, but they have an entire cargo hold of intact stasis pods, and a clever spider like you might be able to use a transwarp cell and a stasis pod to create an escape ship.
So this is important. It feels very verbose for anyone listening and like watching the show, like if you're just watching it in the background, these are like very plot and info heavy episodes.
Yeah.
So basically,
also there's a bit of continuity here too, because like this is calling back to the episode Spider's Game that we were just talking about. Like if you recall in that episode, he didn't really care about the protoform. It was the stasis pod that he wanted. And this now we know why.
Yeah, and at the very end of the episode, he's like, "It's because I need to get off this planet," and now it's following up with that. So he can do it with a stasis pod, but apparently it can't leave the surface. It can't escape the gravity of the planet without a transwarp cell.
I don't know if it's that it can't leave the planet. I think it's just it can't really travel very far in space. They need a transwarp cell to, one, presumably get back to their time and their own time, and two, to travel a great distance because they seemingly are a long way away from Cybertron.
Energy. Yeah, and a transwarp cell will get them there somehow, right?
We'll get them there.
Maybe you're right. It's not necessarily that they need to leave the atmosphere with the transwarp cell. It's that it's like a sci-fi battery, right? That'll power something for a long time, presumably.
Well, I don't think it's that, because like if you look at it in like say Star Trek terms, where like you have like ships have like impulse engines, and it's like, oh, if you're traveling at full impulse from like
you're suggesting that you're like impulse engines are like when you're inside of a system like Earth to Mars.
But so it's like if you want to travel from like, you know, one like one system to another, if you're just traveling at full impulse, it'll take you like
hundreds of years.
It'll take you like a month or two. But if you travel at like full warp, at like warp whatever, it'll take you like a day.
Right, because it's faster than light. Right.
Yeah. So I think
so you're thinking the transwarp cell can actually like help them like bend space to get to Cybertron again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not a matter of just fuel. It's sci-fi.
Yeah. Well, and I mean that's how they got to Planet Energon too, right?
Right, because they followed Megatron through like some sort of warp through time and space.
Yeah, through they locked onto his transwarp signature and followed him through the transwarp bubble that the
so
dark side had opened.
The transwarp cells can also create another like wormhole or warp.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm following. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
The problem is stasis pods can only fit one of them.
Yeah. This is where my my Star Trek knowledge comes in handy.
No, that's a good analogy. Yeah, that makes sense.
So Black Arachnia points out that most of the Maximals aren't at the base because they're like looking for that alien doohickey, and she's like, yeah, we could have that pod in just under 2 megacycles.
And I'm like, 2 days? 2 hours? Have we? I can't remember. Did we establish what a megacycle was? I'm like the worst like host for Beast Wars. I'm like, how much is a megacycle again?
Well, that's
cycles
the thing,
were like minutes, and go ahead.
4 Coronas on a Saturday afternoon.
We worked on that all Saturday. I'll have you know. do you remember, or is it just me that?
No, we never really figured it out because it's pretty nebulous, because like the terms that they use are pretty, like whether they say cycle or megacycle, like it seems to be interchangeable. Like it seems to be context sensitive, however long it means. And also like, cause you would look this, you would look this
up. We've talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's,
remember, do you want me to? Yeah, the Beast Wars, the megacycle is an hour, but the cartoon, right, like the animated G1, it was 2.6.
Yeah, and then in some like comic book or something, it was
in
like
the 2005 run of comics, a Megacycle was 93 hours.
So, who knows? We certainly don't.
And then there was a 2019 run, and like a Megacycle was like 1,000 cycles. So like,
So how long's a cycle then?
approximately 1 minute.
Okay.
So in the latest run of comics, a Megacycle is 1,000 minutes.
Oh.
1,000
divided by 60.
2 hours, which is 16.6 hours. So wow, they're all over the board.
So like a little over half a day.
So yeah, but
Saturday morning and afternoon. Cheers.
Eat hearty.
For tonight, we dine in hell. Yes.
Yes. But I'm gonna go with like 2.6. 1, which is the established canon of specifically Beast Wars. But that's just a cycle.
Yeah, she's making it sound like it's not that long of a period of time. So I'm guessing in this context, it's like just a couple hours.
Yeah. They could get in and out in a couple hours.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that Megatron is watching. And I'm like, now, is she helping Megatron, or is she oblivious to Megatron watching them?
No, I get the impression that Megatron sent her to check up on Tarantulas, knowing that she would.
Oh, she'd help him.
That she'd help him, and
right,
because she's opportunistic like that.
Yeah. Man, what a puppet master.
Yeah,
hey, he's wearing his shoulder pads. I don't have naked shoulders anymore.
And so Waspinator comes out of the hot tub heal machine, and Megatron's on a vid window, and Waspinator is like, I will fuck Spiderbots shit up for killing me.
What a piece of shit.
And
he literally says, I will find Spiderbot and tear him a new waste disposal unit.
And I like what Megatron says here. He's like, I have no time for these petty squabbles now. No. It's like Tarantulas blew him to shit, and like that's just a petty squabble.
Yeah, and keep in mind, it's not like they brought him to the heal chamber. Then Black Arachnia, the weird sadistic like bitch, goes and finds his head, right?
Right.
Didn't bring him to the heal tub time machine, hot tub Healy tank. She brought it with her to Tarantulas' lair and kicked it at him.
Right.
Like, so when did this motherfucker get put back together? Did they eventually feel bad for Waspinator and like haul the chunks of him back to base? Like, I guess.
Who could say?
Nobody. Or maybe now Tarantulas just has an extra Waspinator head and they regenerated him from his torso.
Eventually there's just an army. Eventually there's just an army of Waspinators.
Yeah, but they can't function in whoa. There's some existential questions I have with that. But that's for a different episode.
Yeah. That's for next week's episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good question to ask.
So
at what point can you just copy them?
So Megatron is basically, he tells Waspinator to like go to where the alien energy thing is landing, and Waspinator like complains about it, and Megatron like threatens him, and Megatron leaves. Or Waspinator leaves, and Megatron is all like, from now on, I must play this carefully. Very carefully indeed. Cheers.
I like how intimidating and like direct Megatron's like been with all of like these plans. He like slams the the table he's at, and he's like, "Get out! Did I stutter, bitch?" And
Yeah, I know.
Waspinator's like, "Oh, yes, Dad."
Yeah, I know. Normally he's like kind of
Dismissive.
He's dismissive, and like a lot of the times, like he'll kind of take everything like in a humorous manner, like in a more
like with Lady Arachnia, he was like, "Can you please go check it out?"
yeah. But it's like now that shit's like starting to go down, like he's
And people argue with him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's putting his foot down.
Get out there now. And poor Waspinator, I forgot about this. In like the most pathetic Waspinator voice, he goes, "Oh, okay, Waspinator, go." He transforms and like pathetically flies off, and I'm like, man, he's a ticking time bomb. Waspinator's gonna be free like Tigatron, or like blow himself and the dark side up one of these days, I swear. He's gonna school shooter this motherfucker.
Yeah. So Rat Trap and Air Razor.
Oh god, this again.
Yeah, another scene of someone flying Rat Trap and Rat Trap bitching about it.
Yeah. In fact, he says, "Oh man, we're gonna get vaped." And speaking of him bitching about it, Air Razor finally calls him out. I really like her mom lines. Like I've said this before. I get like big mom energy from Air Razor.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Do you ever think positively?" And this is actually kind of important because some shit happens later. But he's like, "That was positive," because I said we could have just gotten like vaped. If I was being negative, I would have said that we could have been the first to get tortured and then vaped.
Dun dun dun.
I'm like, yeah, good point. And she's like, "You're a real fun bot, you know that?" Craw! And they fly towards some. I don't know how they found this or when this was introduced. Did I miss something?
No, this is
This is
the source of the alien energy signature that came from space.
Oh,
so
from space. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we saw that thing that like
it landed
oval,
here.
Yeah, it landed here.
Okay, gotcha.
And so it's this big like it looks like a big like disc with these
That's hard to describe. Obelisks?
Yeah, they're not obelisks. They're
Eyes
kind of
of
like
Nod?
they're kind of like obelisks, but they almost like
But the ones from Command and Conquer.
They kind of look almost like stone claws.
Oh, it's where you find Serana in the vampire DLC for Skyrim.
Right. It's been a long time since I played that, so.
But yeah, it's a big mystical, like ancient techno thing with stone claws coming out of the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the center of it is a glowing beach ball.
Yeah, and when they land, Rat Trap is amazed, and he's like, "Holy, fry my biscuits and call me a gravy," something like that. Rat Trap bullshit, and he's like, "The crystal is stable." So, am I to believe that this is somehow some sort of like shaped, polished, like perfectly spherical energon that's safe to be near?
An energon sphere, not an energon cube.
Yeah, even AirRazor's like, "Oh, well, if it's stable, then I should be able to scan it just fine," which she needs to transform into her robot form to do, apparently.
Which she does, and yeah, it doesn't like that, so it shoots like some electricity at her, and she gets shocked, and then Rat Trap gets blown back
by like a nova wave of some sort.
Yeah, because the glowing beach ball.
It descends.
It was held up on these like it was elevated, and then it descends, and then sends out this like wave that blows Rat Trap back, and then
it powers up.
Powers up and turns into a dome,
like a green. Like, fuck, this is weird. It like makes something out of energy, and It's like, what the fuck does that look like? Like if what are those cutting, like leaf cutting ants made like an alien dome. Like it's all green and scaly almost. Almost like a dinosaur skin.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's definitely alien looking. I'll give the designers that.
Yeah, and the little cracks in between like the shells kind of like glow. It's cool. But yeah, Rat Trap's like, "Hey, Optimus," and he talks to him over the radio, and he's like, "Get your monkey butt over here before." And Waspinator is on the job.
Oh shit!
But we cut to commercial and come back with Air Razor inside of the structure.
Yeah, she gets up and she's kind of groaning. Fun. She's not doing great. And we hear some like, what's perfectly honest, sounds like Klingon to me.
It's basically like scary alien gibberish, which is kind of like, which is, it's less guttural than it, but I'll give you this one. It's a little Klingon.
Yeah, it sounds like Klingon to me.
Kukala fuklala.
Hook chok maklak.
Hook chok and baklak.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. And indeed, she gets boom shakalaka and energy lightning tendrils shoot out from the spires, the hooks, the thingies, and suspend her over the central point. And apparently this was distressing for my partner when we watched it. So it's like, oh great, so now it's her. I guess she's just gonna get like electricity tortured now. And I'm like, yeah, I never got the impression these aliens were good, necessarily good guys.
No.
Ever, even once. That there's something more here. I mean, this episode still blows my mind, and I still have questions. But that was the fun of me going into this, is that I was like, man, I don't fucking remember any of this.
Even when I was a kid, I actually speculated. I always speculated that these aliens were God.
Huh.
And we'll talk about that more as we get into season 2 in the coming weeks. But
okay, well, that's fucking wild. What? Okay.
Yeah, when I was 12, like I was kind of like speculating that these aliens were God.
Real? Okay. Is there like biblical, like symbolism that I've been missing on the show?
Really, but yeah, I'll talk about it more as we
go far.
Yeah.
Okay, man, this is. I'm just saying. I know there's a huge difference in the number of episodes, but like Beast Wars season 1 compared to Reboot season 1, especially their endings.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, man, I can't compare other voices, part 1 and 2, to Identity Crisis.
Yeah.
Part 1 and 2. Like,
wow.
Holy shit, is there if there's a scale between like 1 and 100, like the season 1 of Reboot ends at something like maybe like a 17, 18.
I was gonna say 30, but
wow, okay, so we both dislike it at varying levels, and like this ends like, if you take out some of the catchy like truce moments, I'd still say like 90, maybe more, maybe like 95. Like I'm pretty fucking hyped, man. Like I'm ready. My body is ready.
I think the listeners can already guess what we're gonna rate these episodes on the Too Much Energon scale at the end. But we'll
maybe
we'll bring that up. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay.
So outside the green dome, Rat Trap's
it's
there,
Waspinator,
and Waspinator shows up, and Rat Trap's all like, man, we have a ceasefire, and Waspinator's like, Sir, Waspinator not shirt. And then he just punches him in the face.
Look, okay, yeah, we just bitched about this, but like, yeah, it's besides we got a ceasefire going on, remember? And he says ceasefire instead of truce, which is the first time anyone in these 3 episodes says ceasefire instead of truce.
Yeah.
Because specifically, Waspinator can say, so Waspinator not shoot then. And he just like decks Rat Trap in the face, which is probably the most badass thing Waspinator has ever done.
Probably, yeah.
But I'm like, hold up, that's not how that works.
No, it's not. And
even the ceasefire, it isn't literal. Doesn't mean like, oh, gentlemen, pull out your bayonets. We're not shooting, but we can still kill each other. Like, whatever. I'm over their bad definition of truce.
You,
but
good sir, have insulted my honor. I challenge you to a duel.
Oh,
rapiers at dawn.
Hornet guns at dawn. When is dawn? Where is dawn?
What is dawn?
Who is dawn?
Oh, Dawn was my my great auntie's neighbor.
She sounds like a lovely woman. But Rat does a Pokemon attack. He like runs, transforms midair, rolls in his rat form, sending Waspinator straight up in the air.
We saw him do that exact maneuver in Call of the Wild after
there were yeah,
like,
you're right.
Yeah.
There was some wild choreographed fight scenes in that. That was the only redeemable part of that.
That was a bad episode.
Yeah.
So yeah,
good. Everything else bad.
Waspinator falls to the ground. Rat Trap walks over and like knees him in the balls and
kicks dirt in his face,
and gives him what he literally refers to as a robot noogie.
Yeah.
And Waspinator is then just like, I've had enough of this.
Okay, bye.
And transforms and flies away.
Oh, Waspinator will get you next time, Ratbot.
Next time, Rat Trap. Next time.
And Optimus shows up, and instead of being like happy, he like dad lectures him.
Yeah. And he's like, he investigates the green dome and he's like, try an energon cutter.
Mm-hmm.
And Rat Trap opens up his like little forearm storage and pulls out a little thing that shoots an energon beam.
Yeah, to try to cut through, I guess.
Air Razor gets tortured some more.
Back to her fucking torture scene, where maybe we haven't sold it enough. She's screaming in pain.
Yeah.
And she has the strength and the wherewithal to yell out beast mode. And when she transforms into her hawk form, the electricity like stops, holding her above the ground, and she just falls to the ground and collapses.
Yeah. And we're back outside the dome, and the energon cutter doesn't work.
And the alien voice inside said one recognizable word. It said Cybertron.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it says like Uktala Mana Cybertron. And I'm like, hold up, what? But yeah, we're back outside of the green like turtle shell dome thing, and energy beams don't cut through it.
Yep. And guess who shows up? All of the Predacons.
Literally all of the Predacons. Well, not
except
literally.
For the spiders.
Yeah.
I don't think Inferno is here either.
Oh, good point. That
a bunch of the Predacons show up.
A bunch. Who could even tell how many of us we are? Sometimes there's 3, sometimes there's 6. But Tarantulas is never here unless he's here to lose. And they storm up and they're like, hello.
Yeah.
Did you really expect energy beams to work, you dumbass?
These aliens created the Energon itself, or something like that.
Yeah, he says these aliens can create Energon itself. So I'm like, hold up. Pretty interesting information.
I assume he got it from the golden disc.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he says, I propose we try a different tactic. And Optimus is like, biological?
Exactly.
And Scorponok's time to shine.
Yeah, he transforms and he's like, 1 toxic sting coming up. And
he shoots his tail.
Yeah, we've never seen him do this before.
And I'm like, holy shit. Why hasn't he done that before? That would have been an interesting ace up his sleeve.
Well, yeah. Maybe it's only a one-time use kind of thing.
And then he has to heal it back or go back to the hot tub heal machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he literally shoots his stinger off.
And it actually works. It
fucking works.
Yeah, it cuts a hole in this
like melts a hole in it or something.
Yeah. And so
and he's like, hey, you guessed right, Megatron, but us Maximals should go in first. And Megatron's like, yeah, oh, geez, yeah. Oh, I guess you should go in first.
That was funny. It's like, yeah, like Optimus is like, there's a Maximal inside there, so we Maximals should go in first. And Megatron's just like, oh yes, but of course, be my guest.
Yes. Oh, geez, I really want it in there, but I suppose we'll wait for you. And it's like very obvious that he's like, man, we're not fucking going in there first.
Yeah, no doubt.
Rat Trap says, oh man, I want extra hazard pay for this. And I'm like, dude, when's the last time you've gotten paid? Approximately 26 weeks.
Yeah. It has now been 25 weeks since I was paid last.
Yeah, so as they crawl through, Megatron's basically like, it's a calculated risk. Let them go through, and if things go bad, we take them out. And Scorponok lifts up his left, like, stinger hand, and he's like, no problem, boss. I got a mega missile right here. And I'm like, are those your normal missiles? Or all your missiles mega missiles? Is this a different missile? Because remember, we've seen them shoot, like, super missiles one time. I think it was Megatron once, and we were like, why doesn't he always shoot those?
Yeah,
was that a mega missile?
In a recent episode, we saw Megatron like suddenly use like a really powerful missile from his T-Rex hand. And yeah, we never saw him use it before, nor have we since.
And it usually just shoots his purple laser.
Yeah.
So I'm presuming
his hand laser. His mouth laser.
Yeah, his mouth T-Rex laser. So presumably maybe they cost a lot more, right? They're hard to manufacture. So there's some limiting factor for the reason they don't use them all the time. And maybe that's what Scorponok has loaded right now.
Could be. Although given that we've, seen like giant ass weapon caches, like just randomly, like sitting on the side of
they were kind of shitty though. Yeah.
I don't think munitions.
There's no meaning behind this definition of adding the word mega, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. He just calls his missiles mega.
He just wanted it to sound important.
Yeah, I've got my mega missiles. Good for you, Scorponok. Yes, your missiles are mega.
Pats him on the head.
They're there. And he's like, now, if only Inferno was doing his job as well.
Yeah. So we're inside the dome. It's pretty dark, and Optimus and Rat Trap are walking in there.
He's aping around, yeah.
He is aping around.
They're in their beast modes.
Yeah. They happen across Air Razor, and she's out cold, and Optimus is like tells Rat Trap to get her out of here, so he starts dragging her away, and she wakes up.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a second, like, you can pick her up with one hand, but like Air Razor's like twice as big as Rat Trap.
Also, why doesn't Rat Trap transform?
Yeah, they don't know that. Oh, maybe he remembers it zapped Air Razor earlier when she transformed.
Oh, I thought it zapped her because like she touched the beach ball. I could be wrong, but
it seemed to like power up before she touched. Who knows?
Yeah,
I thought it was because of the transformation, but it could have been because she was scanning it or touching it. I'm not sure. But at any rate, Rat form, Air Razor starts to get dragged out by. Sorry, Rat form. Hawk form, Air Razor starts to very slowly, painfully slowly, start to get dragged out by Rat Trap, and she wakes up just enough to see Optimus, and she's like kind of like pleads with him not to stay.
Yeah,
and he's like, "No can do,
no can do, Sister Roo."
Yeah,
and
I have to stay. I have to explain ourselves.
Yeah, doesn't he say something along the lines of like, these aliens have a right to some answers?
They have a right to some answers, and to be honest, we haven't been the best of tenants. And I'm like, again, with the tenants and landlord joke.
So some wires come out of the floor and like
she's like, Optimus, no. And then it's just like, yep, she's right.
Yeah, because Optimus is like, all right, whoever you are. And some wires come out of the floor and coil around Optimus and like grab him and pick him up.
I've seen enough tentacle hentai to know where this was going.
Yeah, so they wrap around his stomach and each of his limbs and
his neck, his torso, yeah.
Yeah, and then this like green like vector grid passes through him, presumably to scan
one
him.
vertical plane and one like horizontal plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after it does, we get
looks painful because it's like eyes and mouth like shoot fucking green light out of it.
Yeah, well,
and he's screaming.
I was going to say, I appreciate the visual consistency because if you recall all the way back in episode 3, Chain of Command, that's what happened to them when the alien probe activated.
Oh, yeah, like white light shot out of their eyes and mouths, and then they passed out.
Yeah, and that's what's happening here. So I appreciate the consistency.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever seen this shield around the Axelon before. So, have we?
Yeah, we have. It's Sentinel.
I thought that it was much like Star Trek's shields in that they're only visible when they block a projectile, right? Like they kind of like light up as they like block something. Have we seen like a solid shell like this?
I'm pretty sure we did in the episode A Better Mousetrap. When the base went on lockdown, when Sentinel went on lockdown,
because it zapped. Who was it? Megatron. It zapped somebody and sent them flying. Right. You're right. Yeah, there was a hard. So when they can put the ship in super lockdown, right?
And I think that's
he went rogue.
Yeah, I think that's just what's going on here. Is the ship is just in like mega lockdown because some shit's going down.
And yeah, they're like, okay, so it's the two spiders, Black Arachnia and Tarantulas. And he's like, well, you said you had a way in. She transforms, says, you're not the only techno head around here, partner. And she pulls out a... I know.
That is such a fucking 90s thing to say.
Was that even a thing? saying techno head?
No, but it wasn't
it
a thing.
Feels 90s.
But
okay.
It sounds like something someone would say in the 90s.
It does. Techno head. And she pulls out some sort of I don't know, magic doohickey device, presses some buttons, and it shoots like a distortion field at the energy wall.
It basically cuts a temporary hole in the shield surrounding the maximal base,
and they move in.
Yeah, they go through it,
and right behind them, they go in in their beast modes. Right behind them, it shows Inferno, like literally right behind them. Like they could have turned around and seen him.
Yeah, I know. It's
like 8 feet behind them, and he's like, "Ah, the royalty was right." Yeah, he tries to crawl through the hole, just following the arachnids, and it closes right in front of him. And I thought he was just going to charge at it and explode. He actually uses his noggin. I mean, he's an ant, so I guess. And it showed him digging multiple times. Okay, he has good instincts. I'd say he's stupid, but he has good instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with that. And he starts digging, because I guess you can dig under this shield. Makes sense. It's like a physical thing, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And it cuts back to the Green Dome, and time has been slowly progressing on the show. By the way, I mentioned this in a past episode, but it's happening again in these. In the last episode, it was like around evening when they found the green alien dome, and now it's nighttime. So day has been progressing, and Megatron is outside, right? And he can hear. Fuck this, man! This is crazy. He can hear Optimus screaming in pain as he's being probed and tortured. And Megatron's like, "Ah, would that I could have that sound to lull me to sleep each night. Yes." And I'm like, holy fuck, dude.
Wow. That's some sadist shit right there.
Yeah. Would be that I could have that sound to lull me to sleep each night. And I'm like, oh, I understand you don't like the guy, but it's a little opposite on the ASMR spectrum for me, bro.
Yeah, it's like I know.
Can you imagine? He puts on headphones and he's like, "Time to relax and go to sleep." And the headphones are of his former enemies screaming, just a solid loop of 8 hours of screams.
And he's got for the especially agonists, the especially full of agony screams are saved for special occasions to fap to.
The death screams are saved for for a T-Rex fap. Yeah, I like to do it in T-Rex form because my wiener feels huge. How have I not made that joke before this episode?
Oh god. Oh man. So Rat Trap is pulling Air Razor out of the back out of the hole in the dome, and she's all
and it seems to be healing.
Yeah, it's slowly closing, and
they just managed to get out.
Yeah,
before it heals over.
Yeah, and so they get out, and Rat Trap falls back, and
he's all panting. He's so tired.
Yeah, he's so tired. He's panting, and he opens his eyes up, and Predacons all have their guns pointed at him.
Yeah,
and he's like, let me guess, the truce is over." And back inside the dome, Optimus is still getting scanned, but then the scan finishes. And he stops screaming and kind of just shuts his eyes, and he's twitching in pain.
It's
And I'm like,
yeah,
it's not something like, honestly, like, it's not something I remember noticing when I was a kid, but I'm watching it now and I'm like, holy shit, he's like twitching in pain.
yeah, like he just went through like a weird round of torture and he's like semi-conscious right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like that. Wow, that's brutal for a kids show.
One of those things we've talked about before is like we're more sensitive to that stuff as an adult, right? As we like learn empathy and compassion and stuff, and like as a kid, you're like, oh wow, that sucks. Oh wow, like cool. Oh, what's next? Oh, I'm gonna go ride bikes.
Yeah.
But like as an adult, we're like, holy Jesus, like is that necessary? Is like torture part of the scan?
Yeah.
Calm down. But yeah, it starts
Is
speaking in.
Optimus gonna be okay?
I
to that note, like I actually, when Rat Trap like pulled Air Razor out and was just like on the ground, like with his eyes closed, panting, I actually kind of felt bad for him.
yeah. Yeah, it was like, oh man, and he's stumbling onto the Predacons.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh, poor guy.
Yeah, and like, what if Megatron and Scorponok right there just decided to scrap Rat Trap and Air Razor, which they could have.
They could have. For some
Razor was
reason,
out
they
cold.
don't. But
Yeah, good point. They're supposed to be the bad guys, but again, you can't sell toys if they're dead.
right?
But yeah, the voice speaks in English instead of Klingon now. And it says, this is the specimen we analyzed before.
Again, continuity with Chain of Command, the alien probe.
Yeah, when they sucked in Optimus's soul, researched him for a day as like energy before they like gave him his body back.
Yeah. Gave him his body back, I might add, and not as a result of the device that Rhinox invented.
Oh yeah, which did actually did nothing.
Yeah.
Fortunate for them.
Yeah.
Optimus like stirs into consciousness and he's like, "Huh? Who are you?" And a bunch of my mind was like blown here. I don't recall this whatsoever. I watched this I watched the 1986 Transformers movie when I was a teenager / young adult, right? But I watched this when I was a kid. So now that you and I went back and I've rewatched the Transformers movie a few times, but recently with you when we did that commentary, and then to go and watch this, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah, going into season 2, I would highly recommend watching the first 5 episodes of the
G1.
original of G1. Yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
I'm not gonna say why, but
Okay.
I highly recommend doing so before we get too far into season 2.
Okay. Good to know.
So some gold energy, like whirls up above Optimus and forms into the floating head of Unicron.
Like with his fucking like Viking helmet and everything.
Yeah. And Optimus is like, lay gasp, Unicron. But the alien presence is like
it doesn't acknowledge that name. It says, we have no physical form you could comprehend. So, wait, hold up. Wait.
It says we chose this figure of authority from your data tracks.
Oh. How did I fucking like miss this? I was probably so blown away by Unicron I wasn't paying attention to the words. We have no physical form you could comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
We chose this figure of authority from your data tracks. So they are implying they have authority over him. And it just manifested as Unicron.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are like, they are higher beings than the Cybertronians, and to manifest a physical form, they chose something that Optimus Prime would view as a superior being. or Optimus Primal would view as a superior being.
Yeah.
In this case, Unicron.
And he yells at them, if you scanned me, then you know we didn't come to the planet by choice.
Yet you are here. And I'm like, hey, fair.
Well, yeah. But like, even if you didn't mean to trespass, it's still trespassing.
Yeah.
Like, that's how IRL works, man.
Yeah.
No, we didn't know we were trespassing. There were no signs. Well, that's a you problem. Which is basically the conversation here, yeah. Because he pleads with them, and says that they mean no harm.
Yeah, and Unicron mentions that the harm has been done. They've contaminated the experiment.
The project or experiment? Yeah.
Yeah.
You and your enemies have already contaminated the project. Yeah. And any harm has already been done.
So, yeah, so Planet Energon is presumably a
science experiment.
Yeah, it's a giant lab for these aliens.
They were doing something, and they're not happy. Their research has been compromised, and they got to start from scratch.
Yeah, and Optimus very naively is like, wait, we can fix whatever damage was done. It's like, dude, you don't even know what the problem is. Like,
how many mountains of Energon do you have to blow up before you go, okay, we can't fix this? Am I wrong? That's the problem, right? They've fucked with the Energon distribution of the planet so much, it's out of whack.
I have theories about this, but I can't really talk about them.
Okay.
I can't really talk about them until we're
right. Okay.
At least through season 2.
Okay. Interesting. But yeah, the alien says some cryptic shit. It's like, that which does not become part of the one shall become void. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's some like, how to put this? I don't know. That's like pseudo profoundness.
I don't know if that's like nihilistic or Buddhist. That which does not become part of the one shall become void.
Anyway, he basically I don't really think it is. I think it's trying to sound deep and mysterious, but it doesn't really mean anything.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's trying to sound like oh. But
I'm deep in 14. I wrote this myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. It worked on me, man.
And
like you said, Optimus it's like no, we can fix it. Well, the animals that we went extinct, and we can breed them and bring them back. And
no, it's okay. We'll get out the plaster and we'll patch some of the holes. Like we'll sand them down. We'll put a fresh coat of paint on. We'll steam clean the carpets. Like, we're really sorry. We threw a party and fucked your apartment up.
We'll fix it, man. And he's like, oh no, I don't give a shit about the life on the planet. No, we're done here.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like Unicron's like the experiment will be we are not interested. The experiment will be sterilized. And Optimus is like, no, you can't do that. You, with all your power, even you have no right.
Yeah, there are living creatures here.
Yeah.
And he's like, lol, so.
Yeah, basically. He's like, we have no choice. There is more danger than you know. Begin termination sequence.
Whoa.
And I was like, this was like such a holy shit moment for me when I was originally watching this. This
is a holy shit moment for me, man.
And so, like, lights start flashing, And Unicron
head disappears.
Light flashing. I'm really glad I don't have epilepsy watching this.
Oh, this would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, this would definitely do it.
And Optimus goes apeshit, if you will.
Yeah, almost quite literally. He like yells out no, and then like busts those coils that had him tied up and transforms. And outside the green dome, which is now glowing.
Yeah.
To quickly summarize it, basically like the Maximals and Predacons that are there start fighting, and the Maximals win, and Optimus comes flying out, and quite comically, he just like screams and like blasts like out the side of it.
Yeah.
Like right through the green dome.
But I thought it was like some crazy powerful like shit, and he just like ape punches his way through it.
Well, he went ape shit.
Yeah. He hulked up.
Yeah, and Rat Trap's like, what the fuck's going on, man? And Optimus is like, they called it a termination sequence. We better get out of here. And he's like, you just said my favorite phrase. And so they all like...
That is his favorite phrase.
They all pimp away. And the camera pans out, and Megatron like turns and looks away from the dome and is like, fortunately, there is still another hand to be played. And he leaves.
Yeah.
And the glowing dome, shoots a fucking energy beam right out of the top of it that goes into orbit, right into space, past the orbiting stasis pods, and hits the moon.
And it burns away the surface of the moon.
Yep. Revealing more of these claws.
Whole bunch of those like kind of like metallic energy claw things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean the Maximals knew that it was an artificial structure.
Well, yeah, and going back to the whole continuity thing, back in the Trigger Part 1, Rhinox speculated that the moon was hollow.
Mm-hmm.
That one of the moons was hollow. And
it powers up.
It powers up. I guess all of the energy like fucks with the stasis pods because they all short out and start crashing down. All of them.
Oh shit. That's wild. There's like what, 5 of them? 6 of them?
Yeah, a whole bunch of them.
Oh shit.
And Rhinox sees this happening on his computer monitor, and he looks up and sees the energy like shooting at the moon on his computer panel, and he's like, oh, what the shit?
What the fuck is happening? And there's a dynamic sequence right as he's trying to ingest all this like crazy information that he's coming to. Black Arachnia ninjas down out of the ceiling, and he looks at her and he eyes his gun, and he looks at her and then he like makes for his gun, and he almost gets some shots off on her, but Rhinox is shot with that like debilitating like venom like shot that she has.
Poison dart that she used in that one episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Dinobot comes in and is all like, invaders! I don't know why, but that line always stuck out to me. Like it's actually a line like I've referenced many times over the years.
It's a good word to yell when your home is being
invaders,
and you run out with a fucking sword. This is one of the few times we've seen that the arachnids like machine guns that they have for their arms actually do something.
I was supposed to say actually be effective, because they take Dinobot out.
Oh yeah, but both of them hailing from the ceiling, like double team machine gun fire, and he like falls through the glass and into where one of the platforms are smoking. So and
they the spiders look at the computer monitor of the Energon moon.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And Black Arachne is like, what is it? And Tarantulas is like, the beginning of the end.
Uh-huh.
And exterior shot of the Axelon and the Energon moon.
Which is this big metallic spiky ball.
It's actually known in fandom as the Planet Buster, so I'm just going to start calling it that from now on.
The Planet Buster. Yep. And that's that. That's Other Voices Part 1.
Yep. Aw, shit.
Pretty fucking hype, huh?
Yeah, this is like benchmark, like how you end like a fucking season of a show.
Right?
In my opinion.
I can't think of anything that's done better. Holy shit. Like, seriously. I could think of like cliffhangers and stuff, but like, man, these 3 episodes? Jesus.
I actually remember specifically when and where I was when I originally watched Other Voices Part 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was it was that memorable to me. I was at my mom and my grandmother, because like me and my grandparents lived in the same apartment complex in Nanaimo.
Right.
At the time. It was Tudor Gardens, if you're familiar with it.
That name sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it's on Wakasai Avenue. It's off Bowen Road, kind of on the way to the university.
I lived there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Do the apartments all like they're not incredibly spacious, but they all have like a second floor to them?
No. You're thinking of you're thinking of Villa Eve.
Oh,
which is right beside Tudor Gardens.
You're on the other side. Yeah.
The listeners are probably just like, what the fuck are these two talking about?
Talking about a time long ago when we lived in squalor and and debt.
I'm specifically talking about 1997.
That's not when I was there. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, my this isn't even that interesting of a story, to be honest, but fuck it. It's our show, damn it.
That's right.
Yeah, no, my grandparents and a bunch of other my family members all lived in this same apartment complex for a few years there. When I was like, from the time I was like 10 until I was like 16, I think. And yeah, my mom and my grandma were at bingo together, and I was hanging out at my grandparents. I was hanging out at my grandparents' house with my grandpa, which it was under the guise that like he was looking after me, but like I was 12 years old at this point, so I didn't really need anyone to watch me. But he had like Sega CD and like a bunch, and like a PlayStation, and like he had a bunch of cool video game shit, and they had like lots of movies. So like I would basically like just go over there, and my grandpa would like sit in the living room and watch like Dirty Harry or something, and I would go into their media room and like play video games or like watch a movie or something.
Right.
It was just an excuse to do something that wasn't sit at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I knew Beast Wars was going to be on while I was there, so I tuned in to this episode.
Wow.
And
your mind was blown.
My mind was blown, and I still remember like that. I still remember like sitting there like watching this episode,
being like, "Whoa."
Yeah. Like I said, it's not a particularly interesting story at all. It's just the point is that this episode, like, or part 1 specifically, blew my mind so much that, like, you know how like when like something important happens, like they'll be like, "Where were you when blah blah happened?"
Yeah,
for me, this was like, "Where was I when the first time I saw Other Voices Part 1?"
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, that's how you know you really fucking like a show.
Yeah. And here we are today.
Here we are today on part 2 of Other Voices. And yeah, we open in space, and the planet buster is still getting powered up from the beam from the alien site.
Yeah,
and
it's being powered by the
beach ball.
The beach ball, yeah, from the planet.
Yeah.
So presumably, if I want to speculate, it's tapping into the energon of the planet to power the planet buster that's going to destroy it.
That's a good point. I never even thought of that. That's actually a really good point.
Which is why it needs power at all, right?
Yeah, it's drawing the planet's it's drawing from the planet's like large amount of energon to power the planet buster.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, good. It's a good theory. It's canon now.
Yeah, there
we're going with it.
Which also explains why, like, the planet's like shaking and everything as it's, you know, it's a cyclic, right? Like, the planet buster, it's not going to have a career after the planet's gone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. We just get like a bunch of like random little scenes of like you know, Tigatron and Cheetor like looking at it, and then like Optimus and Air Razor like observing what's going on, and
yeah.
Then the thing seemingly finishes because like the beam disengages and the planet buster stops glowing.
And there's a voice that says the beam, it says termination sequence engaged. Right? So
and then
return to Nexus 0.
Return to Nexus 0.
So what is returning to Nexus 0? I guess
I know exactly what Nexus 0 is.
Okay, then never mind.
But
is that the ball of energy, that weird like thing returning? Or is that just nebulous and I'm not supposed to know yet?
Nexus
like, was it 0. The ball saying that it was returning to Nexus 0? That little ball that like warped here? Or does the ball have nothing to do with anything and it's just...
No, I think the ball that came here, like, it was the aliens. Like, these aren't corporeal creatures.
No. So the ball is returning.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Without going into too much detail, Nexus 0 is where they live.
I think that's just where they live.
Yeah.
And I love Pterosaur's reaction.
I know, I was just gonna bring that up.
They leave, the planet buster stops glowing, right? The beam isn't there anymore, the aliens left, right? And Pterosaur is watching this. Again, I don't know where this camera is, like floating in the sky. Right? And he's watching on a monitor, and he turns to the screen and he's like, "They're leaving! We scared them away!" And I'm like, "Aw, sweet summer child."
Yeah, and he's
imagine having that youthful optimism.
Yeah, and he's like, the moon, it's gone. And Scorponok is like, the aliens have destroyed it. And Megatron like slams his fist down, and he's like, "Dolt! It was never a moon. You fucking morons."
If we didn't know that before, we at least know that now. Jesus. It was never a moon. It's gone.
And it's far from gone.
The aliens only destroyed the moon.
As some ominous theme music plays. Because, oh shit, the moon is... Well, it's for all intents and purposes, it's transforming.
Fucking transforming. Yeah, they enhance. Scorponok enhances. So he taps some buttons, and it turns into that device that your grandma had used for like straining like salad that like folds up.
Oh yeah.
Do you kind of remember like that weird like colander like type thing that would like fold in on itself? But
Yeah.
there's a golden like molten core. With
Well,
like
what I was gonna say is it transforms from like a sphere into
a donut.
Essentially a ring that it has doohickey in the center of it.
Yeah, a ring with a giant like energy focused flower thing in the center.
Yeah. And
Scorponok turns to Dad and he's like, "Oh, what is it?"
I'd say it's the instrument of our destruction. Yes.
Impressive. And he kind of like plays with the gold disc.
Computer, activate program 0 hour.
I love this back and forth. Because like Pterosaur like in fear says, "Well, what do we do?" And he says, "Seal the base and charge all shields. I will see to the rest." Right? So like it shows them being afraid, right? Like you said, What does he say? Computer, activate code 0 hour.
Program 0 hour.
Program 0 hour.
Which is scanning the planet for transwarp signatures.
Yeah.
So he's looking for tarantulas, basically.
Oh, yeah. He's looking to see if Tarantulas is left. Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking for the transwarp cell that he hacked earlier.
Mm-hmm. And the computer shows him a little 3D light model of the Axelon.
Yeah. And he's like, the maximal base, and the shield is down. Oh, yes. And I'm like, dude, like, is this really the time to get excited that the maximal base is defenseless? Like, there's other shit going down.
Right? That was weird. The camera cut each line, too.
Yeah.
It was very dynamic.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you've got, like, way more important things to worry about right now.
Or do I? And he says, computer, use alien frequency.
Yeah, to scan the maximal base.
Yeah. And it says 2 maximals detected in command center.
Non-functional.
Dun dun.
Units. Blackarachnia and Tarantulas active in stasis hold. Unit Inferno is moving toward their position. And he's like, scan maximal base, use alien frequencies.
Thank you. I was I don't get it.
I don't get it either. It's like, how
is he scanning for alien signatures, or has he found a way to use alien frequency to scan more accurately?
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? What does that mean?
I'm thinking it's probably the latter, given the context of this scene. Maybe it's the info
they've never been able to scan with that degree of detail before, so maybe he's using some alien scanning technology.
Yeah, presumably it's just more shit that he got off of the golden disc.
Okay, yeah, let's say that, because before Rhinox said, "Oh, compare this energy signature with the probe," and then it was like, "Yep, same thing," and he had said, alien like frequency. So, but is he using it? Yeah, we've established he's using it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess it just gives him way more. It's a super tech. It gives him more information. Because before they weren't. Yeah, because before he wasn't able to scan the ship because the shields were up. Like it blocked them, but now he can.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So we're at the maximal base in the stasis hold, and Tarantulas is like working on the stasis pod, and
he's hacking. Yeah,
he's hacking. He says the transwarp cell is functioning at acceptable levels, and
he's got like a VR headset connecting him to the pod.
Yeah, and Black Arachnia comes up and is like, "It's a bit small, both of us, don't you think?"
But it
She's
could
like, "But
be
it could,
a bit. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, but it could be a bit cozy
Yeah,
or
she
something."
says, but I guess it could be romantic.
Oh, romantic, right?
And I'm like, yeah, yeah.
and he like flips out on her and is like, "Bitch, I'm busy. Shut up."
He's like, this place is gonna go down.
In
Woman,
less than a
let me hack.
megacycle. Yeah. Yeah, let me hack. Yeah, he's like, "I have no time for your inane banter." And she takes a
Ladies'
step.
man.
She takes a step back and pulls her gun out and is all like, "Well, you won't have to put up with my banter much longer, asshole."
Right?
And then she
She aims a
gets
gun at him.
yeah, but then it's shot out of her hand by Inferno.
And then she's shot.
By Inferno. And
Yep.
then Inferno's Tarantulas sets him on fire.
Literally, he finally set something on fire, and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, there's like a standoff between them. Remember, he samurai blade palms Tarantulas's like attack, which I thought was really cool. Like Inferno is like seems to be a combat specialist. Like he's much more battle ready than these two, which are kind of like the scientist class. I'm trying to think of how I'd make this Beast Wars tabletop RPG here. Like I figure there's like a scientist class, a leader class, and like a soldier class at least. Maybe a rogue or like an infiltrator class.
I'd say Rat Trap would be a rogue.
Yeah. Or just straight up just use D&D. Who's the cleric? Well, nobody can heal, so nobody's a cleric. The ship. The ships are the cleric. But yeah, we finally get to see his flamethrower do something, like you said.
Yeah, he sets fire to Tarantulas and seemingly kills him.
Straight up, yeah. He says, like, it's time for you to burn, traitor. And he delivers. And
yeah.
Tarantula screams, runs down the hallway, because, you know, when you're on fire, the thing you're supposed to do is scream and run.
Sending a terrible message to children.
Runs down the hallway before, like, passing out from the pain.
Yeah.
And the fire, like, just burns itself out.
Yeah, and he did.
But seemingly fucking dead.
And yeah, because that's what the Predacon computer tells Megatron, and Megatron is.
It says unit Tarantulas is non-functional.
No, what has that fool done?
Right, and I'm like, well, why did you send him? Why did he send him?
Yeah, he's not really the person to send when you need a more nuanced approach.
Not gonna lie, pretty satisfying watching Inferno burn Tarantulas alive. I don't know if it's because I hate Tarantulas so much, or if it's because I was making fun of how useless his fucking flamethrower is against robots, but both of he got to burn something, and Tarantulas got to burn to death, so here we are.
Yeah.
An ongoing thing my partner and I will do whenever somebody explodes or is like shot or falls into many pieces, she will just go, and he's fucking dead. He's just gone now. Off the show. Fucking dead. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure.
It's like an entire cast of Kennys from South Park.
I feel like the Maximals less so. Like, it's never shown, it's shown Dinobot's head spin. So I kind of feel like Predacons are more hardy. But it's never shown a Maximal, like, dismembered, has it?
I don't think so, no.
It showed, like, Optimus's leg get a huge chunk out of it in Beast Wars Part 2, but I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and death seems to be a more, like, death or, like, serious injury seems to be a much more of an issue for Maximals than it is for Predacons.
Yeah, maybe how
maybe the hot tub heal machine is just way more advanced restoration tech than the CR chamber.
Well, it seems like you can just scoop the parts of whoever you're healing into the hot tub heal machine, like to scoop Waspinator parts in, wait like half an hour, and Waspinator comes back up. Right. Whereas the CR chamber in the maximal base is it does seem like it actually takes much longer. Like there's been whole plot points where they're waiting for somebody to be healed. Meanwhile, like once or twice, it's taken in the very least like a chunk of a day, right? But whereas in the Predacon base, it's like, how many times Pterosaur died this episode? Been blown to pieces and come back? Like it feels like they're in there for like 15 minutes, and all you did was like find Waspinator's head and like one leg, and he came out perfectly fine like 15 minutes later.
Yeah. Yeah, the hot tub heal machine, more advanced restoration tech.
And Megatron has his own. And here's the thing, it makes sense because they're like a warship. The dark side is a warship, and the Axelon is like a research vessel.
Yeah.
So presumably only one person might need it at a time because it wasn't even meant for war. So that makes sense. And we're speaking of the Axelon.
Yeah, we're back outside the Axelon, and Optimus, Rat Trap, and Air Razor finally get home. And
they're like, they freak out. They're like, why are the shields down?
The shields are down, and so is one of the moons.
That's weird. Does that moon look any different to use? Catch up, Rat Trap. Oh, he's been suspended in the air, looking in one direction. So I guess this is the first time he's seen the moon, or the planet buster.
Yeah. And Rat Trap and Cheetor are coming. Oh, terrific! Now we can all get reduced to hot boiling slag together.
Yeah, Cheetor and Tigatron. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what did I say?
I think you just said Rat Trap.
No,
whatever. Yeah. I've called the viewer the user like 11 times. I mean, technically, we would be the user, right? Yeah.
Well, in our Beast Wars tabletop RPG, absolutely.
Whoa, that has levels of deepness to it.
They say in unison, "Shut up, Rat Trap," and we're back in the stasis hold, and Inferno's doing something to the stasis pod,
pressing some buttons to it.
I don't think he knows what he even knows what he's doing. I think he's just pressing random buttons,
or he's following specific directions from Megatron.
Maybe
to like lock, because remember it gets locked up later.
Right. Oh, maybe
he's fucking with it to lock the door, and that's why he had sent him here. He wasn't supposed to take them out, but maybe he was supposed to like fuck with the door.
Yeah.
That maybe, or he's just randomly pressing buttons.
I always assumed it was Black Arachnia that did that, but yeah, Inferno doing it makes more sense.
Well, I initially thought that it was Tarantulas, like when he like
some kind of failsafe.
Some kind of failsafe if he's not the one to get in it. Yeah. But then I was like, oh, it was Megatron when he like programmed the cell. Remember, he's like, time to add my own programming to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Megatron then. Like, we're like, was it Black Arachnia? Was it Megatron? Was it Inferno?
But I
Megatron, right?
I don't see how altering the programming of the transwarp cell would lock the door of a stasis pod, though.
But Megatron acts like he did it, and I can't think what else the reprogramming would have done.
Yeah, whatever. We'll go with it.
Well, whatever. Yeah, it's Megatron or Black Arachnia or Inferno or Tarantulas. Somebody locked the door.
The answer is yes.
Yes. And there's a comical fight between Inferno and Black Arachnia. It's pretty pretty interesting, pretty well choreographed. There's lots of karate,
Yeah.
a lot of taekwondo moves, Black Arachnia dodging.
Yeah, it's not really worth going into
It's
detail
not.
about.
It looks cool, but it's a fight. The TLDR is that he screams a bit, she disarms him and shoots him in the head, and his gun is bigger than Black Arachnia when she's holding it. It's fucking huge. He laughs in the face of danger. But unlike others who might hesitate, no, she just fucking slags him.
She's a bad bitch.
Yes, she is. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. So she goes over to Tarantulas and takes his VR headset that he had earlier and hooks it up to puts it on and hooks it up to his head, and because she needs to get some info out of his data tracks, and she's walking around a VR version of his lab.
I love this.
Inside his head, and
yeah, it's cool.
She grabs a virtual transwarp cell and then a bunch of tarantulas heads.
Yeah, she's looking for some additional information, and the visual representation of that is her exploring his lab.
Yeah.
But she hears him start to laugh in the background, and then suddenly she's in darkness, surrounded by 3 laughing tarantulas heads as she screams in pain.
Yeah.
Then there's a bolt of energy. She screams in agony and rips the VR headset off of her.
Yeah.
Like some net running, she just got fried bullshit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cyberpunk shit in this, and I like it.
Yeah, so we're back on the bridge, and the Maximals come up the elevator platform, and
but wasn't it broken? The glass? Dinobot fell through it.
No, the camera pans because Air Razor steps on some spider web.
So there are 2, and
yeah, and
it's taken us this long to confirm that.
Yeah, and she looks up. They all look up and see Rhinox and
right.
Dinobot on the ceiling. Yeah, and the camera pans around, and on the other side of the room is the smashed one.
The smashed platform. Okay, so there is 2. Remember how insane we got about is there 1? Is there 2? No,
because there was that one episode where it showed that there was 2, but the room was clearly mirrored.
Yeah, and that was the first time we had ever seen that there were 2.
Yeah,
because from the outside of the Axelon, it only ever shows 1. They all descend down and run out of 1.
Yeah.
Well, and we were hang on. Now we know.
So yeah, they figure out that the spiders are there, and so they got to go hunt him down. And Rat Trap says, "Let Sentinel handle him." And Optimus is like, "We can't spare the power."
Spare the fucking power. Okay, hold up.
They probably.
Why hasn't Sentinel been on? They wouldn't have been infiltrated if Sentinel was on. It would have activated and shot the fucking spiders when they were on the roof.
No, I think they're saving all power they can for the shields. Which, I mean, given the situation, that seems like a fair play.
Okay, so before Sentinel was deactivated and they were just relying on that hard energy shield.
Yeah, and I think
the reason they were never shot or the turrets never activated and sent inside was because all the power was going to the shield.
Again, another Star Trek thing.
And
divert all available power to shields.
Okay, so and the reason they're not activating it now is because Optimus wants to save power for later.
Yeah.
If they need it for the shields.
Yeah.
Because there's a giant planet buster thing.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Moving on. I can accept that.
Yeah, that's my best guess. Again,
no, that makes sense to me.
My Star Trek knowledge. My experience with Star
Trek.
If
they have a limited number of energy that they can move around or harness at any time, I accept that.
Yeah. And he's like, one more thing. If you find them, I want them functional.
I thought he was going to say, if you find them, slag them.
No, he wants them functional because he wants to do it himself.
That's the vibe I got from him. He's like, I want them functional so I could torture them, those motherfuckers. And everyone's like, whoa, Optimus.
Whoa, whole new side of you there, Optimus.
You got that like vibe from his tone too?
Yeah, totally.
That he wanted to fuck him up a little?
Yeah. Yeah, I want them alive so I can beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, it's the way he says it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Amazing.
Yep. Speaking of amazing, we're at the Planet Buster, and it's like little like metallic flower thing in the middle of the ring. Shoots out a wave of energy across it, and then each point focuses a beam, which then combine, and it shoots a beam of energy at the planet.
Yeah, it's almost coalesces like some sort of like honeydew. It's wild, and it's kind of like a beam that gets larger, like a golden eye, right?
Yeah, and it is it's not an energy beam, it is a beam of heat.
It's a heat beam, a heat ray.
Because, as Optimus points out, when the dinner table, the computer at the dinner table is all like, warning, energon or planet being superheated or whatever, and it shows like a bunch of red dots in the mountains,
presumably large energon deposits.
Energon deposits, yeah. And Optimus is like, by the Matrix, no, they're going to ignite the energon deposits. So basically, they're going to destroy the planet by blowing up all of the energon.
Interesting that it's not just a giant laser that blows it up. It's they're superheating the planet. Presumably, this is also boiling off any water and like killing anything it hits.
Yeah.
Like it says 140 rads, which is a radiation unit for measuring radiation rather than heat.
Yeah. Anyone who's played Fallout will know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And is that like rads per like second? Is it just a steady like because humans can live from that much radiation? But like it literally showing like mountains exploding, forests on fire. What else is going on here? Earthquakes are happening. It's fucking shit up. The whole planet's shaking. It's bad news.
Lots of heat.
The atmosphere seems to be igniting. It's bad.
Too much energon.
Too much energon.
That's what it comes down to. Too much heat and too much energon. So the planet's gonna fucking blow up by the end of this.
Yeah, that's
quite literally. The planet's eventually just gonna blow up.
And the dark side isn't in a good. I told them not to land it in like a dormant volcano, but the dark side's like slipping into lava to some extent.
And Megatron is like, brilliant! They're causing a chain reaction which will rip this planet to atoms and destroy all traces of them. Simply to deal with us. What sheer ruthlessness, what disregard for sentient life. I rather like these aliens.
I fucking love that that whole line.
Yeah,
and Pterosaur, like in like horror of what he just heard, turns as the whole ship. By the way, like they're bad news. They're in a fucking dormant volcano, right? Their whole ship is way worse off than the Axelon. Like there's fires, explosions. It's dark. Like and emergency lights are flickering on.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't appear to have an energy shield.
They don't have energy shields. Nope. Their turrets ain't gonna help them now. And Pterosaur is like, what? Like them? They're trying to destroy us!
Waspinator not want to be destroyed. Waspinator has plans.
I love that.
And I'm like, aw.
Aw. Like, It's impossible to hate Waspinator. Right? Like I feel like if you released him from the Beast Wars, he would just like get a job and like, enjoy life. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Waspinator, stop by and get ice cream after work.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like weirdly wholesome for a bad guy.
He's I really like that. He
Yeah.
is oddly wholesome.
Speaking of wholesome,
Oh,
Scorponok follows it up
okay,
with,
yeah. I love this. So right after Waspinator, he goes, no, Megatron will save us. And he looks up at his father figure.
and Megatron's just like, I think not. No.
And he turned, man, fucking Scorponok. Megatron will save us. And him just being like, I think not. No. But then he continues and he's like, I rewinded this because I loved all of these lines so fucking much. Megatron will save us, right? Waspinator had plans.
Waspinator has plans.
It's the way all the lines are delivered. These are just so fucking good. But Megatron says, no, I've reserved that task, as for saving them, I've reserved that task for Tarantulas.
Yep. So he's got some plans with the stasis pod and the transwarp cell.
Yeah, and he asks the computer to update him on the with the situation at the Axelon, and it can't because their shields are at maximum now.
Blast!
And he gets so angry at this and like slams his like little counter, and he's like, blast.
So
back at the on Planet Energon.
Back at the Axelon, Rat Trap and Air Razor are sneaking through halls with their guns out, looking for the spiders. And Air Razor has a gun that I don't think we've ever seen her wield before.
Oh, she's always just had her wrist like...
Yeah, her wrist darts. But this is like cool. A gun that has like feathers and like a beak on it.
Yeah. But her head has the beak. So where'd that beak come from?
It's weird.
It's like when we got a glimpse behind peek behind the curtain, and we saw Cheetor's room, and he's got like 6 tummy guns. And we're like, hold up, why did he have more than one?
And Black Arachnia is like working on the stasis pod, and it's like all systems online. And she's like,
she's got the VR headset on, and she's like, we did it, I did it.
And she smiles and like perks her boobs out.
She like puffs her chest up, which like warps the size of her metallic spider boobs. It's noticeable because we have pointed it out and we look for it now.
Yeah. And
yep, too late. As she's like hacking, done with hacking and pleased with herself, Air Razor and Rat Trap lift their guns right to her head.
I weirdly feel kind of bad for her in this one moment because she's all like, "Hey, wow, I did it!" And then immediately she just gets like guns pointed at her.
I actually laughed out loud. She like nervously clips her like talons, and she takes off the VR headset slowly, and she's like, "Did you know that we have a truce?"
Well, I guess to be fair, like they wouldn't necessarily know that the truce is over. Like at least as far as the Predacons are concerned.
I like. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. They were here the whole time.
Yeah, they were here the whole time when all the like Green Dome action was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, although they themselves shot at.
Yeah, that's why I thought that was kind of funny. Did you know that we have a truce? And as the whole planet's like literally burning.
Yeah.
External temperature at 300 rads and climbing. That isn't a temperature, my dear. Whatever, rads sound cool, right?
Indeed. Optimus frantically like shakes Cheetor and is like, "How long before Rhinox is functional?"
Yeah, I love that. We were just talking about like, holy shit, like the CR chamber can take its time because like Rhinox isn't even in this episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. He isn't.
No, he was taken out, but well, it shows him dazed in the CR chamber later. But other than that, no. He shakes him.
Yeah, that's what he's like grabs him, but he grabs him by the arms and like shakes him. How long before Rhinox is functional?
And he's like, at least a mega cycle.
Blast.
Don't give me that that doctor mumbo jumbo. I need English. Long time.
And what is it? Rat Trap radios Optimus and is like, hey, you better get down to the hold. There's something here you got to see.
Yeah. But before Optimus heads down to see what the fuck is going on. By the way, Optimus is super frantic in these scenes. Never seen him like this.
Yeah.
Sentinel tells him that there's 28.5 cycles until approximately the planet reaches the point of no return.
Right.
Like 28 more cycles, so, almost half an hour, and the damage to the planet will be beyond the point of no return. Because it's hard for me because I'm like, well, this isn't like a countdown. It's not a bomb. The whole planet is shaking itself apart and lighting on fire, right?
No, I think the computer has just estimated, like, based on like what's going on, like how long the planet under these conditions, like how long it'll take the planet to finally be destroyed under these current conditions. I think the computer is just estimating based on that.
90% of the way to destruction is still cataclysmic for a planet. Do you know what I mean? Like the atmosphere would be burned away, all life would be like mostly like dead. Right? Like all the jungles would be on fire, like 90% of the way to like catastrophic.
Well, yeah, realistically what's going on in the on planet Energon right now, like most of the wildlife should be dead by this point.
Yeah, especially with the radiation piling up.
Yeah. So they're all in the hold now, and Optimus is like, incredible, it just might fly.
Yeah.
And Arachne is like, yeah, of course. But
you ape.
Yeah. But
well, he is an ape.
It'll only respond to me, so fuck you. And he's like, no, fuck you, make it respond to me.
Right? He like picks her up by the waist, the neck, like in like rags or like rag dolls, or grabs his other fucking gorilla hand over her skull to remind him that he's a fucking like 800-pound gorilla that could rip her head off. Like and she still sassily resists.
And people and everyone's just like, why? What's your plan here? And he's like, well, every alien structure is designed with a purpose in mind, and this one is busy, so I think I can get close enough to destroy it. And Rat Trap is like, with what? One of your "we can do it" speeches?
Right?
But Optimus is like, a transwarp explosion.
And so blow up the transwarp cell, and
which I'm like, shit, that's actually a good idea.
Right? Like these episodes fucking make sense. Great. And Black Arachnia like cackles, and she's like, "Oh, okay, but you just blow yourself up into atoms." And he's like, "Well, if it saves the planet, it'll be worth it." And that's such foreign thinking to a Predacon, I guess. But he makes a really good point, because he's like, if not, I'm no worse off.
Yeah. It's like, either way, I'm going to die.
Like, I can not do this and everybody dies, or I can try and die and maybe everyone else will live. So, I mean,
Might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most people would like to think that in that kind of situation, that's the choice they would make. But I mean, you never really know, right?
Yeah, she even like gasps, and she's like, "Oh, holy shit!"
Yeah. So
Unhand me. So she kind of like comes to this realization. She's like, "Oh, wait a second. I have to do this if I want to survive."
Yeah, I might live if I if I cooperate.
Oh shit.
Stand aside.
Stand aside. Cunts.
I have work to do.
It's time to hack again.
and
then everybody does the oh, you gotta let me fly the ship, big boss.
No, I'll go.
No, I'm Spartacus. I'll go. And Tigatron's got a good point. Because he feels responsible for the floating island being destroyed. Remember? I don't think that was his fault, but
right, yeah. And yeah, so everybody does the whole like, let me go, Optimus.
No,
and
me.
Then, yeah. And Optimus is like, well, what about you, Rat Trap?
Yeah.
Rat Trap doesn't
he's
say
like, well, what
anything.
about
you? He's like, hey, suicide ain't in my job description.
I like that.
Yeah. If anyone on the team is going to have that attitude, it's Rat Trap.
He's like, hey, I'm a team player, but I like living. And I like that his question was just rhetoric. He's like, well, Rat Trap. Because like everybody else had like insisted they go.
Yeah. And
he's like, fuck that shit. And but he does give Rat Trap a mission. He says, hey, if you can rig the transwarp cell to explode, I'll need about 30 nanoclicks. So, as we've found out, about 30 seconds. I need 30 nanoclicks to clear the ship.
Right. Didn't you say like a click was actually like a unit? Or right, yeah.
When we started watching, click is like slang for kilometers, right? Oh, just like 5 clicks off, right? We live in Canada, listeners. So
I looked into it, and the U.S. U.S. military also uses clicks as well to refer to kilometers.
Oh, good. Yeah. So it's easier to measure, honestly.
At least that's what the internet told me. I could be wrong. Most of our listeners are American, so if I am wrong, write in.
Yeah, if you're in the military and there's another word for clicks. But yeah, that's what we thought at first. But then we realized that click in like Transformers terms and Beast Wars term is a time unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's different.
So
it's like a minute or two.
Yeah, so
the shields.
Black Arachne has got everything ready to go, and Optimus transforms and climbs in, and he's like,
realize this is crazy.
Yeah, he's like cozy, and she's like, just like a coffin.
Yeah, I like that cheeky line. She's like, just like a coffin. And that makes me think, like what you said, wait, I thought it was Black Arachnia. Is that like tipping her hand? No, it was Megatron. Yeah.
Yeah.
That it won't open again? Maybe?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore.
Nobody does. Yeah, and
we've been podcasting for over 3 hours, listeners.
We are going crazy. But Optimus is like, hey, thanks for your help. And she's like, yeah. And everybody kind of says that. It's like that trope where like everybody like, hey, you're going to come back, but just in case you don't, you know. Like Tigatron says, may the Matrix protect your spark for all eternity.
And I like what Rat Trap says. He's like, just in case you don't come back, can I have your quarters?
Asking the real questions.
Yeah. It's like, well,
Optimus. Go ahead.
You're not gonna need that big spacious captain's cabin anymore. So
When you're on fire.
yeah, when you are dead in space. So
asking the real questions, really.
The practical questions, yeah.
Yeah.
To which Optimus says no.
He shakes his head and laughs, and he's like, "No." Yeah, whatever happens out there, I want you to know that all of you are the finest crew I've ever served with.
And Black Arachnia is just like, do
Ew.
Maximals always talk such slop? And fucking Air Razor just like decks her several times.
Fuck yeah. Like, actually knocks her out. And I'm like, man, when I was a kid, we've talked about it, like Air Razor wasn't our favorite, but we needed a mom on the Maximal team, and I got one. And my partner pointed out, well, you can't have one of the male Maximals puncher. And I'm like, touche. Shooting is different.
It's fair, I guess. Although we've seen like Megatron manhandle her before.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, the stasis pod seals, and Optimus puts his face shield down, and
like a badass.
Stasis pod, the hatch opens on the Axelon, and the stasis pod flies up toward the Planet Buster.
Yeah, and it's like so bright, this like heat ray being shot at them. It's like looking at the sun.
Yeah.
Man.
And
this is some shit.
And Megatron scans the stasis pod and finds out that it's not Tarantulas flying it. It is Optimus.
Yeah.
By the pit, the command codes have been changed.
By the code.
Well, blow me down. How delicious, yes.
Oh, he does say that. How delicious. And so this whole time, man, these 3 episodes are so well written. It like kind of blows my mind. Like as it all like comes out, and rewatching them now, I'm like, oh no, it wasn't like slopped together. Like it all of his like plan like perfectly makes sense now.
Yeah, so he wasn't counting on blowing up Optimus, but he was still counting on hijacking the stasis pod with Tarantulas in it and flying it into the Planet Buster and blowing it up.
Which is why he programmed the transwarp cell. Which is why he had a plan to save everyone in the first place. Which was why he needed Tarantulas to do all of this in the first place anyway.
Yeah. And and he presumably put Black Arachnia into the mix so she could help him.
Yeah,
because he knew she would.
But basically, they are in the bridge, right? And they're like, "Oh, how are you able to what is it in the Axelon here?" They're like, "How are you able to get a signal through the shields?" And Cheetor says, "Oh, I opened a hole big enough for a spectrum pulse." And he's like, "Rhinox showed me how." And it cuts to, and he's like, "I wish he was here," but like he's 6 feet away in the CR chamber.
Yeah, he's just asleep. Like he'll be fine.
He's not even asleep. It cuts to him, and he's like, "Optimus."
And
man, I don't know if I'm ready to handle this again.
Yeah, this is
man, I don't like Megatron. Before I thought like he's reached real villainy for me. I'm pissed. I'm pissed, man.
Yeah, so Optimus is flying toward the Planet Buster, like right in the middle of the beam, and basically the computer tells him it's time to go. So he's like, "All right, open command hatch," and the computer is like, "Unable to comply. Pod hatch has been sealed." And Optimus is like, but that's impossible. And Megatron comes in,
pops up on the window of the hatch.
Oh, I assure you it is not. And how ironic, isn't it? Both of us hitting upon the same plan to destroy the alien machine. Fortunately, in my version, the pilot goes down. Or should I say, up with his ship. I'm like, wow.
Good joke, bro.
And Optimus is like hitting the inside of the window, like trying to get out, and Maximals are noticing like he's almost there. Like, why hasn't he gotten out yet? And
then some creepy fucking weird possession shit happens here. Okay, they're all like being like, "Come on, big boss, like get out of there." And Black Arachnia, with her eyes glow green and with Tarantulas' voice, she says presumably part of his consciousness has transferred into her mind and possessed her, at least momentarily here. And he says, "Too late. Goodbye, Optimus."
And then back in the stasis pod, this is a line that you brought up earlier. Megatron is like, "Oh, you Optimuses do love to sacrifice yourselves, don't you?"
Yeah.
And
I was like, Optimuses? Hold up.
Because they do. Optimus Prime sacrificed himself.
But is it a different Optimus?
It is, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
because he dead, but then they brought him back. Whatever.
Well, they're not the same characters. This is like
no, but but Megatron is the only one that is the same, correct?
No, they're not the same characters at all.
At all. Okay, I don't know why, but something happened a while back and convinced me otherwise. But they're not, right?
No, they're not.
Okay, thank you.
when the toy line was originally launched by Hasbro, that was the intent. That's why a lot of the characters like have some similarities to G1 characters. Like Tarantulas is basically like Shockwave.
Yes.
Pterosaur is basically Starscream, etc., etc. We've Scorponok's a lot like Soundwave.
Soundwave is Scorponok, yeah. Cheetor is Hot Rod, etc.
Yeah. We've talked about this before, but that was the original intent with the toy line, but the show makers decided to go a different way with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are like completely new characters that are just descendants of the Autobots and Decepticons.
Yeah, because it's been a long time. Like, presumably, can they die of old age?
They can they can live forever if they're in stasis, but if they're not in stasis,
or if they're a spark screaming through space.
Yeah. Well, Starscream Spark is immortal.
Yeah, he's special.
He's a unique case. But I assure you, all of these questions will actually be answered.
Oh, all right then.
So
carrying on, but yeah, I found that line interesting. Oh, you Optimuses, what does he say here?
Do love to sacrifice yourself.
Do love to sacrifice yourself. Fortunately, this time your foolishness will destroy you and your Maximals.
The Beast Wars are over, Optimus. You lose.
Fucking like rubs it in the way he points. You lose.
Yeah, and the ship is counting down to the transwarp explosion. Optimus Prime is like screaming, "No, Megatron!"
Yeah.
God, this shit wrecked me when I was a kid.
Man, it's wrecking me now.
Oh yeah, when I watched, and did I watched these on Monday, I think, and like I actually like teared up at the end.
And
no joke,
my partner was
like,
yeah, my partner was like, oh, like surely he's fine. But as it's slow-mo, it shows the same explosion a few times from different angles. Really shows off the cool explosion nova effect. It actually shows like parts
Pieces
of
of him,
Optimus,
including his face.
Yeah, like he's exploded.
Yeah, he's
He's
dead.
in chunks. He's fucking dead.
And so the stasis pod exploded. The Planet Buster has been destroyed, and Optimus is in pieces. And the camera pans over to Planet Energon and says "the end" with a question mark.
Yeah.
Man, when that was like, I can't even
12-year-old can't handle that shit.
I can't even put into words just how like much of a like holy shit thing this was for me at like 12. And I'm like, is it the end? Is Optimus is dead? Like, is there going to be more? What's going to happen? And I didn't even find out because this was like back in the early days of the internet, and like I didn't have a computer or anything like that, or computer access, so
right.
I didn't have access to the internet, and I wouldn't have known where to look. So I had no idea until several months later, like whether the show was even coming back or not.
And it's like the end question mark. So you're like, fucking hope not. I need answers, damn it.
Yeah.
So that's a lot to take in. So that's it, folks. Thank you for staying on that wild fucking journey.
Yeah. So that was the final 3 episodes of season 1 of Beast Wars. On the Too Much Energon, here on Too Much Energon, we rate episodes on the Too Much Energon scale, which ranges from not enough energon to sufficient energon to too much energon. I'm giving all 3 of these episodes a too much energon, a very high too much energon. I think these are some of the best episodes in the entire season.
That's a pretty high too much energon from me, dog.
They're not perfect. We've kind of nitpicked at some flaws in all of the episodes. The biggest thing is the whole.
Yeah,
it's kind of
like it's not perfect. It some of the like the wonky like time to use like a frying, like not a frying pan, the sheet of metal down, and ooh, here's like a boulder to take them down. There's a tiny amount of like filler. Like nothing is perfect, right?
And like a few like random like cutaway scenes that didn't really like serve any purpose. Like the one scene where it's like, do you think Tigatron's gonna succeed? Well, he better, because we need answers.
Yeah. It's like, anyways, back to you.
Anyway, back to Tigatron now. It's like that cutaway was completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And I was like, hold up, why'd they do that?
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to support the show, check out our website, www.toommuchenergon.ca, or check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/toomuchenergon. If you want to get in touch with us, send us an email at toomuchenergon@outlook.com. I actually got DM'd by a listener on Twitter today.
What?
Yeah. So Twitter user, if I'm saying this wrong, I apologize, but it looks to me like Malkman is here. He says, "Hello, Energon hosts. Just discovered you. I'm actually just getting into Beast Wars, and I thought this is a good pod so far."
Rad. He's just getting into it.
Yeah. I was just curious if you guys, being Transformers fans, knew about the anime spin-offs. I'm sure you already know that Beast Wars dubbed into being a comedy, so these shows are really lighthearted, to say the least. I was just curious if you two were going to be covering them as well. We've kind of talked about we've kind of talked a little bit about the Beast Wars animes. Cal actually didn't know until I
No
made
idea.
made an offhand mention of them a few
fucking
weeks
idea.
ago. I offhandedly referenced one of the Beast Wars anime shows, and Cal was like, "Wait, there's a Beast Wars anime?"
Yeah, I was dumbfounded. I'm still hard to believe.
Yeah, so we don't really have any like concrete plans, but it could be something that, you know, maybe we dedicate a couple episodes of Too Much commentary to it, or
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, or
watch the whole thing and just do like a big info dump on it, or something like that.
Something like that. We don't know for sure. We might do something with it, but yeah, stay tuned. Anything can happen. Happened.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. There's a whole lot of not only Beast Wars but Transformers content to mine for episodes of Too Much Energon.
Mm-hmm. I'm still gonna check it out because I'm like, that's a thing. But
I've seen an episode or two of it. It's pretty bad.
Okay.
But it could be one of those things that it's like, you know, it's so bad that it could be fun to watch, but
Right.
We'll figure that out down the road.
Yeah.
For now, we're gonna get through.
We're gonna give you a hard maybe.
Yeah, for now we're gonna get through the main Beast Wars show.
Yeah, and it's fucking rocking.
Speaking of which, next week we will be back with a special bonus end of season 1 episode where we're going to kind of recap the entire season. We're going to talk about some couple unproduced episodes whose existence I just discovered recently, and count down our picks for the top episodes of the season. And we might have a special guest.
Dun.
So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, we've been doing this this is one of our longest recording sessions yet, so we're gonna get out of here. I have been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And until next week,
Beast Mode. Beast Mode?
Can I have your quarters?
No.
Beast Mode!